Home Minister meets Madhesh Chief Minister. Hindu Samrat Sena withdraws protest after talks. Siraha curfew relaxed. Subsidiary restrictions shift to prohibitory orders amid efforts to restore normalcy. Nepal government pushes 166 bill legislative plan. Mining law reform bill seeks clear federal roles. Nepal mourns Broad Peak climbing tragedy. Body of Nirmal Purja recovered after the avalanche. US President Trump says US strikes on Iran halted. Tehran faces pressure for rapid deal. And Nepal to host Kava Women's Champions League volleyball tournament. Volleyball Association marks Golden Jubilee year. Good evening, I'm Bishata Bhandari and this is NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere it is 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Hindu Samrat Sena Nepal has suspended all protest programs, including a planned nationwide shutdown, after reaching a verbal understanding with the government over demands linked to its movement. The agreement was reached during talks in Janakpur Dham on Sunday between a government delegation led by Home Minister Sudan Gurung and officials of the organization. The group said it has submitted a revised proposal that adds 6 new points to its earlier 13-point charter of demands. According to Vice President Krishna Sanatani, the government has responded positively and agreed in principle to form a committee at an appropriate time to take forward the implementation process. Following the government's commitment to address its demands, Hindu Samrat Sena Nepal announced that it has withdrawn all protest activities, including the planned bandh or general strike. Earlier in the day, Nepal's Home Minister Sudan Gurung also met with Madhesh Province Chief Minister Krishna Prasad Yadav in Janakpur Dham to discuss the security situation and recent developments in the province. The meeting, held at Chief Minister's official residence, focused on the aftermath of the recent Sunsari incident and measures to maintain law and order across the Madhesh province. According to the Chief Minister's Chief Personal Secretary Santu Yadav, the Home Minister also briefed the Chief Minister on his visit to several districts in the province and reviewed the current situation. Chief Minister Yadav in turn updated the Home Minister on the conditions in Madhesh province and the provincial government's efforts to ease the tensions. The meeting comes as authorities continue to monitor the security situation following recent unrest in parts of southeastern Nepal. Authorities in Nepal's Subsidiary district have lifted the curfew in Rajbiraz and Bode Barsai municipalities, replacing it with a prohibitory order aimed at maintaining public order. The decision was made by the District Security Committee and announced by Chief District Officer Shyam Krishna Thapa. Under the order, gatherings of more than 5 people, as well as meetings, rallies, sit-ins and demonstrations, are prohibited in designated areas of both municipalities until further notice. The District Administration Office has urged residents to comply with the restrictions, which have been issued under Nepal's Local Administration Act. The move comes as authorities continue efforts to prevent further unrest and maintain security in parts of Subsidiary district. Authorities in Nepal's Siraha district have relaxed the curfew imposed in the Gol Bazar area, allowing public movement and the reopening of markets during designated hours. According to the District Administration Office, the curfew has been eased from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. to facilitate shopping, restore normal life, and allow the operation of long-distance vehicles passing through the area. The administration has urged people to avoid gatherings of more than 5 individuals during the relaxation period and said a decision on extending or lifting the curfew will be made after assessing the situation. The restrictions were imposed after a clash between two groups on July 31st, in which one person died and another was injured while attempting to intervene. With security measures strengthened, public life, including markets, industries and transport services, is gradually returning to normal in the affected Tarai region. Next, the government has begun introducing bills this year aimed at aligning laws with the spirit of the Constitution and the needs of a changing society. On July 29, 2026, it registered 9 bills in Parliament in a single day and plans to introduce a total of 166 bills during the current fiscal year. Among them is a bill to amend the Mines and Minerals Act with the objective of clearly defining the powers of the federal.
Nearly a decade after the implementation of federalism, the government has for the first time initiated the process of amending mining legislation to clearly delineate the responsibilities of all 3 levels of government in the mining and mineral sector. The bill registered in the House of Representatives to amend the Mines and Minerals Act proposes provisions defining the authority, responsibilities, and revenue sharing mechanisms among the federal, provincial, and local governments. It outlines separate powers for each level of government regarding the collection of royalties, fees, land lease charges, and service charges. Under the proposed provisions, local governments will be responsible for mineral conservation, local monitoring, extraction of designated mineral resources, and collection of local mineral utilization fees. Provincial governments will be granted authority over mineral exploration permits, management of exploration activities, recommendations, and coordination. The federal government, meanwhile, will retain responsibility for national policy formulation, strategic planning, declaration of mining zones, large-scale mining operations, and detailed geological studies and research. This is the first such legislative initiative since Nepal adopted federalism aimed at restructuring the mining and mineral sector in accordance with the federal governance system. On July 29, 7 bills, including the Mines and Minerals Amendment Bill, were registered in the House of Representatives. On the same day, 2 additional bills were also registered in the National Assembly. Declaring the current year as the year of lawmaking, the government has submitted a legislative plan to the Federal Parliament Secretariat proposing 166 bills. However, so far, only 13 bills have been registered, 11 in the House of Representatives and 2 in the National Assembly. Besides the Mines and Minerals Amendment Bill, the House of Representatives has also received bills to amend laws relating to the remuneration, terms of service and benefits of constitutional office bearers, the Employees Provident Fund, the Passport Act, the Human Trafficking and Transportation Act, the Child Labour Act and the Mediation Act. Similarly, the National Assembly has registered bills concerning domestic air service liability management and the control of infectious animal diseases. According to the Federal Parliament Secretariat, only 4 bills have so far been passed by the National Assembly. Meanwhile, the long-awaited Civil Service Bill, which the government has identified as one of its priorities, has yet to move forward.
जरुरी सार्वजनिक महत्त्वका प्रस्तावहरू पनि छन्, संकल्प प्रस्तावहरू पनि छन्। त्यसै गरेर मन्त्रालयगत प्रश्नोत्तर पनि लिखित र मौखिक प्रश्नहरू सम्बन्धित मन्त्रालयबाट प्राप्त हुन आएका छन्। लगायतका कार्यसूचीहरू रहन्छन्। यसको मतलब संसदमा बिजनेसहरू नभएको होइन, बिजनेसहरू हुन्छ। आगामी दिनमा खास गरी विधि निर्माणको कामलाई त विधेयकहरूको म्याचुरिटी सकिसके पछाडि मात्रै अगाडि बढ्ने भन्ने भइ नै हाल्यो। त्यो बीचमा केही प्रस्तावहरू खास गरी जरुरी सार्वजनिक महत्त्वका प्रस्तावहरू अगाडि बढ्न सक्छन्। त्यसपछि विधि निर्माणको काम अगाडि बढ्छ नै।
At present, various bills are under clause-by-clause discussion in the Education, International Relations and Tourism, Finance and State Affairs and Good Governance Committees of Parliament. Sabika Shrestha, NTV World.
We're going for a short break here. More news coming up. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Now the remaining updates. Nepal government has expressed deep sorrow over the deaths of renowned climbers, including Nirmal Purja, popularly known as Nimstai, in an avalanche on Broad Peak in Pakistan. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the tragedy, which also claimed the lives of several Nepali climbers and members of an international expedition team, is an irreparable loss to the mountaineering community. The ministry said Pakistani authorities and Nepali teams launched intensive search and rescue operations after the climbers were reported missing and lauded the rescue personnel for their efforts in the challenging high-altitude conditions. Search operations for the remaining victims are continuing. Nepal's embassy in Islamabad is coordinating with Pakistani authorities to facilitate the repatriation of the recovered bodies to Nepal. The body of the renowned mountaineer Nirmal Purja, widely known as Nimstai, has been recovered from Pakistan's Broad Peak following last week's deadly avalanche. Pakistan's Alpine Club said the body was found at an altitude of around 5,700 meters, while 3 additional bodies have been located but have yet to be formally identified. As of the latest update, 8 bodies have been recovered from the Broad Peak avalanche in Pakistan, while the search operation was continuing for the remaining victims. The recovered climbers include Purja, Pur Bahadur Gurung, Gyalu Sherpa, Kili Pemba Sherpa, Nima Sherpa, Wangzong, Mallory Gais, and Nadhira Ahmed Abdullah Al-Harthi. 43-year-old Purja was leading a multinational expedition on the world's 12th highest mountain when the avalanche struck, killing 10 climbers. Widely regarded as one of the world's greatest mountaineers, Purja gained global recognition after climbing all 14 peaks above 8,000 meters in a record 189 days in 2019, and later featured in the Netflix documentary 14 Peaks, Nothing is Impossible. Tributes have poured in from around the world, including Britain's Prince William and Nepal's Prime Minister, as search and recovery efforts continue in Pakistan's Karakoram mountain range. 1 person has died and 20 others have been injured in Nepal in the past 24 hours due to monsoon-related disasters, according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority. The authorities said 34 disaster incidents were reported across 25 districts during this period, including 14 snakebite cases, 11 fires, 6 landslides, and 3 animal attacks. The incidents caused an estimated loss of 2.7 million Nepali rupees, while 2 roads were blocked and 18 livestock were lost. Since the start of the current disaster season in mid-April, Nepal has recorded more than 4,000 disaster-related incidents nationwide. The authority says those incidents have claimed 196 lives, left 4 people missing, injured more than 1,290 others, and affected over 5,100 families. Construction of the postal highway linking Siraha and Sarlahi districts in Nepal's Madhya province has entered its final phase, with more than 90% of the road already blacktopped. The highway is considered a key infrastructure project for the economic development of the province, connecting communities across Nepal's southern plains. According to the Postal Highway Directorate, 24 bridges have been completed and several others are nearing completion, while 347.6 kilometers of the 406.4 kilometer stretch have already been paved. Authorities have also begun the contracting process for the remaining sections, with officials aiming to complete the project within the current fiscal year. Once fully finished, Nepal's east-west postal highway will extend approximately 1,792 kilometers across the country's southern belt. Kapase Bhanjang, a scenic area located on the border of Bhojpur and Khotang districts in eastern Nepal, is emerging as a growing tourist destination with increasing numbers of domestic visitors. Known for its natural beauty, the area offers panoramic views of green hills, mountain ranges, and the plains during the monsoon season. Local authorities have developed tourism infrastructure, including parks and a statue of the elm tree, to attract visitors and promote the area. Officials from Temke Mayung Rural Municipality and Khotehang Rural Municipality say efforts are underway to further develop Kapase Bhanjang as a major destination and connect it with the Mundhum trekking trail. Locals believe improved promotion and infrastructure could help attract more international tourists to the region. A historic hilltop village in central Nepal is at risk of losing its cultural identity as migration to cities empties rural communities. Kolmakot in Syangja district offers panoramic Himalayan views and centuries of local history. However, residents say without greater investment and promotion, its heritage could gradually disappear. Aprila Kesinglama, along with our local correspondent Himal Nyopani, reports.
Perched about 1,450 meters above sea level, Kolmakot overlooks parts of central Nepal and the northern Himalayan range. Despite its scenic landscape and cultural significance, the village has received little attention as a tourist destination. Local historians say Kolmakot's name comes from a traditional stone oil press once used to extract mustard oil, reflecting the area's long agricultural history.
तेल झारेर यहाँ चाहिँ कोल बनाएर त्यो ठाउँको नाम कोलमा राखेका रे हेर्नुस् अब यति भएर हामीले यसलाई संरक्षण गरेर राखौं भनेर यतिको बनाएर राखिएछ.
Residents say the village has long been home to Gurung and Dalit communities and continues to preserve elements of its traditional culture. To support the local economy, villagers have opened homestays for visitors. But many younger residents have moved to cities in search of education, jobs, and better opportunities, leaving the community increasingly deserted. Locals now fear that if the trend continues, Kolmakot's history and cultural identity could fade along with its shrinking population. In response, residents have begun working to preserve the village's heritage and promote it as a tourism destination.
कोलमावर भन्दा भन्दा कोलमा हुँदा हुँदा पछि कोलमा रहेको भन्ने चाहिँ एउटा बनाइहरु चाहिँ पाइयो र लामो समयसम्म पनि त्यो ढुङ्गा सुरक्षित भएको कारणले अहिले हामी अलिकति बुझ्ने अलिकति पछि गाउँको लागि एउटा पर्यटकीय पहिचान पनि हुन्छ भन्ने सोचले सम्बन्धित गाविसहरुमा पनि यो कोल संरक्षणको लागि.
Residents say better infrastructure and stronger promotion of lesser-known heritage sites could attract more visitors, create new sources of income, and help keep rural communities alive for future generations.
Time to go for a short break again, but we will be back with international updates. US President Donald Trump says he has cancelled strikes against Iran, provided a deal is struck rapidly with the country. In a post on Truth Social, the US President said he had been asked by Iran and other countries in the Middle East to hold off on any attack as the perimeters of a deal had been agreed. Trump's comments came after reports that the US and Israel may have been planning new intense strikes on Iran. It is not the first time that Trump has issued apocalyptic warnings, only to subsequently insist that diplomacy was being given a chance. Iran has not confirmed requesting new talks or any agreement on the outline of a deal to end the war that began with US and Israeli strikes on the 28th of February. On Sunday, Iran's acting defense minister Majid ibn al-Reza said Tehran viewed every threat from its adversaries as real and credible, even if it formed part of a psychological warfare. At least 3 people have been killed and 21 injured after a homemade explosive device was detonated at an Italian restaurant in Moscow, according to Russian state media, who were quoting security officials. The National Anti-Terrorist Committee said a woman carrying the explosives tried to enter the restaurant but was stopped by a security guard. Authorities have not said who they believe was the target, but many Moscovites will suspect a link to the war in Ukraine. In recent years, several senior Russian military figures have been assassinated in and around the Russian capital. Moscow has blamed Kyiv for those attacks. 5 people have been found dead and 41 are missing after an Indonesian ferry carrying 271 people caught fire while at sea, according to the officials. The captain of the ship reported the fire off Madura Island as the vessel sailed from the country's second-largest city of Surabaya in East Java to Makassar in South Sulawesi, according to Basarnas, the National Search and Rescue Agency. Footage played by local Indonesian news outlet iNews shows large numbers of people in life jackets on what appears to be a lifeboat. Other clips show people climbing down from the ferry that has flames and plumes of smoke coming from the top of the vessel. Sri Lanka deployed hundreds of troops and elite commandos on Sunday to contain riots at an overcrowded prison where an inmate was killed and 6 others wounded, according to the police. Deputy Police Inspector General Sanjeeva Medawate said the situation was under control after inmates destroyed multiple buildings on August 1st inside the Mahara prison just outside the capital of Colombo. Medawate said inmates at Mahara prison had completely destroyed the kitchen, the hospital, a newly built rehabilitation building, and vocational training facilities. The prison housed 4,100 inmates, about 4 times its capacity, an issue common across the country's jails. In November of 2020, a riot erupted at the facility in which 11 inmates were shot and killed, and nearly 120 others wounded. South Korea registered its highest temperature since records began more than a century ago on Sunday, as authorities warned people to immediately stop all outdoor activities in the affected areas. The southeastern city of Yongsan saw the temperatures reach 42.5 degrees Celsius at 1:26 p.m. local time, according to the Korea Meteorological Administration. Yongsan has been the epicenter of the ongoing heat wave, where temperatures exceeded 40 degrees Celsius for a 5th consecutive day on Sunday, while many other cities, including Daegu and Busan, are seeing temperatures climb into the high 30s. More than 20 localities were under emergency heatwave alerts on Sunday, a new warning category introduced this year to better address rising temperatures. Korea Meteorological Administration's data show the average annual number of heatwave days in the century has more than doubled to 19 over the past 5 years, from 8 in the 1970s. 2 more updates, but before that, time to go for a short break again. Spanish Guardia Civil patrol boats have intensified surveillance along the maritime border of Ceuta, following a surge in migrant crossings into the Spanish enclave in the North Africa. While most of those who crossed have since returned to Morocco, The attempted crossings turned deadly, with at least 67 people reported to have died while trying to reach the Spanish territory. Spanish and the Moroccan authorities continue to coordinate the border security efforts as humanitarian groups call for stronger measures to prevent further loss of life. The latest incident has renewed concerns over the growing risk faced by migrants attempting dangerous sea crossings between North Africa and Europe. The 7.1 magnitude earthquake that struck Japan's Kumamoto prefecture on July 28 has forced closure of several semiconductor plants and a port. The death toll from the earthquake reached 36, while more than 9,200 residents remain in evacuation shelters. Besides, there have been more than 1,500 damaged buildings in Kumamoto, according to the latest statistics. The factories in Kumamoto, including Sony and Tokyo Electron's facilities, look intact but still have suspended production as they need time to correct the equipment affected by the powerful quake. The quake has also shut down the logistical operations at the prefecture's Yatsuhiro port, where soil liquefaction and ground collapse have occurred. Time now for sports update. Nepal will host the Kava Women's Champions League volleyball tournament from October 31st to November 6th, following a decision by the Nepal Volleyball Association. The tournament was approved during the association's 14th plenary meeting, which also endorsed its annual program and financial reports for the new fiscal year. Association President Jitendra Bahadur Chand announced that this year will be celebrated as the association's Golden Jubilee, marking 50 years since it was established. The meeting also decided to form a special task force to make the club membership system more transparent and better organized. New clubs will be granted membership only after meeting the association's prescribed procedures. The Women's Tour de France got underway from Lausanne, Switzerland, with large crowds lining the route as riders began the latest stage of the race. Organizers say this year's edition is expected to deliver one of the most competitive contests yet, with a challenging route likely to test the sport's top contenders. Race director Marion Bruce said she expects a closely fought competition, highlighting the strength and consistency of this year's leading riders. The race will continue across demanding mountain and sprint stages before concluding in France later this week. This brings us to the end of this edition, but before we say goodbye, here's a quick reminder of our top stories. Home Minister meets Madhesh Chief Minister. Hindu Samrat Sena withdraws protest after talks. Siraha curfew relaxed. Subsidiary restrictions shift to prohibitory orders amid efforts to restore normalcy. Nepal government pushes 166 bill legislative plan. Mining law reform bill seeks clear federal roles. Nepal mourns Broad Peak climbing tragedy. Body of Nirmal Purja recovered after the avalanche. US President Trump says US strikes on Iran halted. Tehran faces pressure for rapid deal. And Nepal to host Kava Women's Champions League volleyball tournament. Volleyball Association marks Golden Jubilee year. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be up at 2200 hours Nepal time. Meanwhile, do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries, where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World, taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. I am Bhavana Kesey, and in this edition, we bring you the week's top headlines from escalating geopolitical tensions, major diplomatic developments, breakthroughs in science and technology, cultural celebrations, and extraordinary stories of human achievements and resilience. We have all that you need. We begin this week with a major development in the Israel-Hamas conflict. U.S. President Donald Trump says an agreement has been reached for the complete disarmament of Hamas in Gaza, raising hopes for a breakthrough in the conflict. U.S. President Donald Trump says a breakthrough agreement has been reached for the complete disarmament of Hamas in Gaza, calling it a critical step towards ending the war and establishing a new Palestinian administration. Hamas says it has accepted the deal, which includes the gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces and the transfer of its weapons to a Gaza Administration Committee under international oversight. However, Israel has not yet commented, and the agreement's implementation remains uncertain. The plan forms part of the second phase of a U.S.-backed Gaza ceasefire, with mediators from the US, Egypt, Qatar and Turkey expected to meet in Cairo to discuss next steps. Despite the announcement, violence has continued in Gaza, highlighting the challenges ahead. Tensions in the Middle East are escalating after Iran's Revolutionary Guard claimed responsibility for striking a US base in Kuwait in retaliation for recent American attacks on Iran. Regional tensions have escalated sharply after Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps IRGC announced that it carried out missile and drone strikes against a U.S. military base in Kuwait, describing the attack as retaliation for recent American airstrikes on Iranian territory. According to the IRGC, the operation targeted military infrastructure at the Ahmad Al-Jaber Air Base, claiming damage to facilities including drone hangars and fuel shortage. Iranian officials said the strikes were intended as a direct response to recent U.S. military operations against Iranian targets. The United States has not fully confirmed the extent of the reported damage, and independent verification of Iran's claims remains limited. Officials are continuing to assess the situation while monitoring for further attacks. The latest exchange has heightened concerns that the conflict could spread across the Gulf region. Several neighboring countries have increased security measures, while international leaders are urging restraint to prevent a broader regional war.
U.S. President Donald Trump held separate meetings with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington amid ongoing Ukraine war and Middle East tensions. The talks focused on regional security, defense cooperation, and strained geopolitical relations.
U.S. President Donald Trump held separate talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House, with officials describing both meetings as positive and productive. Trump and Zelensky focused on Ukraine's air defense needs, with Zelensky saying the U.S. president agreed to grant Kiev licenses for the domestic production of Patriot interceptor missiles, though the White House has not confirmed the claim. The Ukrainian leader also met executives from defense giant Lockheed Martin to discuss joint production of Patriot systems before meeting U.S. senators ahead of a vote on tougher sanctions against Russia. Meanwhile, Trump's meeting with Netanyahu came amid growing differences between Washington and Israel over Iran, underscoring the strategic challenges facing the two allies despite continued high-level engagement. Netanyahu said the talks reaffirmed a shared commitment to preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, describing the meeting as one of his best discussions with the U.S. president. The visit came amid growing strains in U.S.-Israel relations, with Trump recently criticizing Israel over continued military operations in Lebanon, despite the calls for restraint.
Spain's North African enclave is facing an unprecedented surge in migrant arrivals, with tens of thousands crossing from Morocco within just 24 hours. Authorities are struggling to respond as humanitarian concerns continue to mount.
Spain has deployed troops to its North African enclave of Ceuta after around 60,000 migrants crossed from Morocco within 24 hours, triggering one of the largest migration surges in the territory's history. Ceuta's authorities say at least 34 people died during the crossing, while thousands of others, including an estimated 7,000 unaccompanied minors, entered the Spanish enclave. Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez described the mass crossing as an attack on Spain's territorial integrity, vowing that all migrants who entered illegally would be returned to Morocco as soon as possible.
En segundo lugar, definir lo que ha sucedido en el día de ayer como un ataque, una violación de la integridad territorial de España. Ceuta es una ciudad española y lo sucedido en el día de ayer merece todo nuestro reproche, toda nuestra condena en el nivel más enérgico posible, de rechazo, de condena y de consideración de deplorable la violación y el ataque a la integridad territorial de una ciudad española como es la ciudad de Ceuta. No quiero olvidarme, por supuesto.
The influx follows a recent Spanish Supreme Court ruling barring the immediate return of migrants intercepted at sea while attempting to reach Ceuta. Spanish officials say more than 25,000 migrants have returned voluntarily to Morocco as Madrid works with Rabat to restore border control.
Rescue teams in southwestern Japan are racing against time after a powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake devastated parts of Kyushu. Dozens have been killed, thousands displaced, and emergency crews continue searching for the survivors.
A powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake has struck Japan's southwestern island of Kyushu, leaving dozens dead, injuring scores of people, and displacing thousands from their homes.
Rescue teams are working around the clock to locate survivors trapped beneath buildings as emergency crews continue search and rescue operations across the worst-hit areas. The earthquake caused widespread damage to homes, roads, bridges, and other critical infrastructure, disrupting transport and power supplies while forcing mass evacuations. Japanese officials have deployed emergency personnel and disaster response teams to the affected region, warning residents to remain alert as strong aftershocks continue to pose a significant risk. Officials say the death toll could rise as rescue efforts continue and the full extent of the destruction becomes clear. India is moving to impose tougher penalties for examination paper leaks following weeks of nationwide student protest. The proposed reforms aim to restore confidence in the country's education system through stricter punishments and faster legal action. India's government on Tuesday proposed longer jail terms and heftier fines for examination paper leaks, seeking to restore confidence after youth-led protest focused on education reforms that rocked the country. Under the proposed legal change submitted to Parliament, the maximum prison term for those involved in paper leaks would be doubled to 10 years, while fines could exceed $1 million and court proceedings would be fast-tracked. The legislative push follows weeks of protest over exam paper leaks and other irregularities, which culminated in the resignation of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan last week. The protest, spearheaded by the online Cockroach Janata Party CJP movement, drew massive support from young students across the country and presented a major challenge to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. The proposed amendments reaffirmed the government's deep commitment to safeguard the welfare of the students and the youth of the country, according to a senior minister. The parliament reconvened last week for its monsoon session, with the first few days repeatedly disrupted by opposition lawmakers seeking accountability over a police crackdown on the student-led protests. China has launched a new generation of AI-powered satellites, marking a major step in bringing artificial intelligence into space. The mission is designed to enable real-time data processing and autonomous satellite operations in the orbit.
China has launched a Lijian-1 Y-15 carrier rocket, sending 5 satellites into space, with 2 of them equipped with advanced AI large models in a pioneering effort to expand AI application to space. The Jitian Star A04 is equipped with embodied intelligent models developed by Zhejiang Lab, a research institution based in Hangzhou, East China's Zhejiang province. The model enables the satellite to manage itself as it can autonomously complete multiple in-orbit tasks, such as monitoring the satellite's status, as well as planning and executing onboard missions for a single satellite or satellite cluster. The Xiguang-203 satellite carries 3 AI meteorological models, which can improve efficiency and precision of forecast for sudden weather events like short-duration torrential rains and strong winds. It typically takes conventional meteorological satellites 90 minutes to transmit weather data to ground stations after recording it. The ground team also need time to parse and correct data before releasing the forecasts, resulting in slow data refresh rates. The workflow is efficient enough for conventional weather services, but falls short of the demand to issue timely forecasts for abrupt weather events. The 2 satellites are part of the 3-body computing constellation project, which is initiated by the Zhejiang Lab and aims to send AI into space to achieve in-orbit data processing. According to the plan, the constellation will reach a scale of 100 satellites by 2027.
Dodge Foundation is helping survivors of domestic abuse erase unwanted tattoos forced upon them by abusive partners. The initiative offers free laser treatment to remove lasting symbols of violence and help survivors rebuild their lives. Dodge Foundation is helping survivors of domestic abuse remove unwanted tattoos that were used as tools of control and intimidation by abusive partners. Among those receiving treatment is 53-year-old Jo, who is undergoing laser removal to erase more than 250 tattoos that her former abusive partner marked across her body and face. The tattoos were placed in areas where he believed another man had touched her, leaving permanent reminders of the abuse she endured. She is one of hundreds of survivors supported by Spite Fund Tattoo or Tattoo Regret, a Rotterdam-based foundation that provides free laser tattoo removal services to victims of abuse, exploitation, and coercive relationships. The organization uses specialized laser treatments to gradually remove the unwanted markings, helping survivors regain confidence and move forward from the traumatic experiences. Each treatment can require multiple sessions depending on the size, color, and the depth of the tattoos. Spite Van Tattoo has assisted hundreds of people across the Netherlands and is preparing to expand its work internationally, aiming to provide support to more survivors seeking to remove physical reminders of abuse. Humanoid robots took center stage in Tokyo as engineers showcased the latest advances in robotics through competitive combat demonstrations. The event highlighted rapid progress in artificial intelligence and next-generation robotics. Humanoid robots battled each other in Tokyo, Japan, as engineers showcased the latest advances in robotics, artificial intelligence, and engineering during a unique combat competition. The event featured human-operated humanoid robots competing in full-contact matches inside an octagonal arena, exchanging punches and defensive moves while testing their balance, strength, and agility. Teams demonstrated cutting-edge technology, including advanced sensors, powerful motors, and AI-assisted control systems designed to improve movement and stability. Organizers said the competition is more than entertainment, serving as a testing ground for innovations that could benefit industries such as manufacturing, healthcare, disaster response, and logistics. The event highlighted the rapid progress of humanoid robotics while giving spectators a glimpse of the future of intelligent machines, where robots are expected to take on increasingly complex real-world tasks. Thousands of devotees gathered in Sri Lanka's Katharagama to witness the annual fire-walking ceremony, one of the country's most revered religious traditions. The ritual symbolizes unwavering faith, devotion, and spiritual endurance.
Thousands of devotees, pilgrims, and visitors gathered in Katharagama to witness the sacred fire-walking ritual, one of the most anticipated and spiritually significant events associated with the annual Katharagama Isala festival. Held in the early hours of the morning following the Grand Isala Perahera, the ceremony once again showcased an enduring tradition that has been passed down through generations, symbolizing unwavering faith, devotion, and the fulfillment of vows made to the deity Katharagama. Although the fire-walking ceremony is not officially part of the Katharagama Devalaya's formal religious rituals, it has long become an integral feature of the Isala festival celebrations. Every year, the ceremony is held in front of the Devalaya at the conclusion of the Isala Perahera, attracting thousands of devotees from across Sri Lanka, as well as international visitors eager to witness one of the country's most extraordinary religious traditions. Participants spend months preparing for the ritual through strict spiritual discipline. Many abstain from consuming meat, observe a vegetarian diet, maintain ritual purity, and dedicate themselves to prayer and religious observances. According to historical records, the first fire-walking ceremony associated with the Katharagama Devalaya was held in 1948. Since then, the ritual has become one of the defining highlights of the annual Isala festival, reflecting Sri Lanka's rich spiritual heritage and centuries-old religious traditions. More than a spectacular cultural event, the Katharagama fire-walking ritual remains a living expression of Sri Lanka's spiritual traditions. It continues to inspire generations of devotees and serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring bond between faith, sacrifice, and sacred heritage of Katharagama.
Thousands of people have gathered in Amsterdam as the Dutch capital hosts the World Pride. Colorful canal parades, cultural celebrations, and calls for equality are taking center stage during one of the world's largest LGBTQ+ events.
World Pride Amsterdam 2026 geopend.
Amsterdam has officially launched its annual Pride celebrations, transforming the Dutch capital into a vibrant stage for diversity, inclusion, and equality. This year's festivities are spanning an impressive 2 weeks, making it one of the longest and most comprehensive Pride celebrations in Europe. With more than 300 events scheduled across the city, Amsterdam Pride combines colorful entertainment with a strong message of activism, highlighting the ongoing fight to protect and advance LGBTQ+ rights both in the Netherlands and around the world. The celebrations began with a lively opening day that drew thousands of residents, tourists, activists and supporters into the heart of the city. Streets in central Amsterdam are filled with rainbow flags, music, performances and community gatherings as participants march together in the Pride Parade, celebrating diversity while calling for continued progress towards equality and acceptance. The event celebrates love in all its forms and reflects Amsterdam's long-standing reputation as one of the world's most LGBTQ+ friendly cities. The spectators gathered along the waterfront to cheer on the couples, creating a festive atmosphere that blended joy with the message of solidarity. The floating parade has become an international symbol of visibility, freedom and acceptance, distinguishing Amsterdam Pride from similar events worldwide. Vietnam is transforming its rich cultural heritage into immersive tourism experiences to attract more visitors and boost local economies. Officials say the initiative will help preserve traditional arts while promoting sustainable tourism.
Vietnam's Ninh Binh province is strengthening its cultural tourism sector by transforming traditional heritage into immersive visitor experiences in line with the government's strategy to promote heritage as a driver of economic growth. Traditional Cheo folk opera, once confined to theaters, is now being staged at historic sites, tourist destinations and cultural festivals, bringing the region's heritage to wider domestic and international audiences. Performers say productions are being adapted to better engage younger audiences and visitors while preserving the authenticity of the traditional art form. Organizers also review audience feedback to continually improve performances. Local authorities and tourism operators are expanding heritage-based events in locations such as Hoa Lu Ancient Town, aiming to create distinctive cultural products that attract more visitors and support sustainable tourism. Officials say turning historic sites, traditional performances, and cultural narratives into memorable visitor experiences will help preserve Vietnam's heritage while generating long-term economic and tourism benefits.
Thailand has celebrated country's newest inscription in the UNESCO World Heritage Site, as this recognition is expected to strengthen cultural preservation while giving a major boost to heritage tourism. Buddhists gathered for almsgiving in front of Wat Phra Mahatat Waramahavihan in Nakhon Si, Thammarat, marking the temple's newly announced status as Thailand's latest UNESCO World Heritage Site. Nearly 1,000 Nora performers took to the streets in celebration, showcasing 12 classical Nora movement sequences in a ceremonial offering to the temple's sacred Jedi. Nora, a form of dance drama native to southern Thailand and recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity, is one of the region's most distinctive cultural traditions. The mass performance stood as a powerful expression of community faith and collective pride. UNESCO's World Heritage Committee voted unanimously to inscribe Wat Phra Mahatat Waramahavihan during the 48th session of the World Heritage Committee held at the Busan Exhibition and Convention Center in South Korea on 25 July. The temple was designated under criteria 2nd and 6, recognizing its outstanding influence on cultural exchange across the region and its deep association with living traditions and belief, making it Thailand's 6th Cultural World Heritage Site, its 9th World Heritage Site overall, and the first ever located in southern Thailand. Worshippers from across Thailand and abroad, including foreign visitors, joined monks from Wat Phra Mahatat and at least 5 surrounding temples in a merit-making ceremony, offering rice and dried goods to 99 monks. The inscription is the result of more than 14 years of research, advocacy, and cross-sector collaboration. Beyond cultural preservation, the inscription is widely expected to boost heritage tourism in southern Thailand, generating economic benefits for the local community and contributing to the country's broader sustainable development. And that's all for this edition of The World This Week. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. We look forward to bringing you more of the stories shaping the world next week. You can also visit our website at www.nepaltelevision.com and follow us on our social media platforms and YouTube channel. I am Bhavana Kesi. Until next time, take care and goodbye.
Hello there and welcome to a brand new episode of Insight. Today we're talking about literature, culture and the ideas that outlast borders. From the Himalayan Literature Festival to the larger questions of poetry, translation, gender and Nepal's civilizational depth. We are going to explore how writing continues to shape public life and keep memory, identity and imagination alive. We have with us Indian-born poet, often dubbed as the world-renowned Himalayan poet, the one-man academy and Himalayan Neruda, Yuyutsu Sharma. So welcome to the show. It's good to have you here. You keep traveling back and forth, and here in this particular moment, you are here for the Himalayan Literature Festival. Let's start with the festival itself. Where did the inspiration for this second edition, I believe, of the festival come from, and what can the participants expect from it?
Well, it's a long story. I've been traveling a lot for the last 2 decades. I've been teaching here, and then I quit teaching and I started traveling. So I've been traveling for 2 decades now. So while traveling, I met all these writers and poets, and I hung out with them in Europe, in London, in Frankfurt, on other parts, Italy, Paris. And then I went to America, and I made friends in Europe and California, in New York. And so all along, I had known so many writers, and I thought, why not invite them here? So I've been planning this for a long time. But then one of my friends in New York, who runs this New York Writers Workshop, he wanted to, they go every year to a different country to host their residency and their workshops. So they said, oh, you want to come to Kathmandu? I said, why not? And we were about to do it in 2019, and then the pandemic came, so we had to wait. So finally in 2024, we had this session in collaboration with New York Writers Workshop and White Lotus Bookshop, which is run by my wife, Srijana Bhandari. So we had a great success because we had about 40 writers, and we took them to Pokhara, to Chitwan, and we had workshops here in Kathmandu Guest House, and we were, all over, and they were exalted, they're going to Pashupati and all these places, the Changunarayan. And so it turned out to be very good, and the word spread, and then more people wanted to come, and so I said, okay, we have to do it again. So, and they said, do it, and I didn't do it last year, but then I thought, okay, let's continue it every year. So this year we are hosting, fortunately we were good enough to have great faculty to teach. So we got America's 22nd Poet Laureate Tracy K. Smith, who is also Pulitzer Award winner and Chancellor of American Academy, and she's a hugely popular figure in America, a household name. And then we have Paul Muldoon, a legendary writer who's like, who's Oxford professor of poetry and taught at Princeton, and also former editor of New Yorker. And he's also very, he's like a legend. And so these, and then we had Martin Doyle from Ireland, who's a book editor of Irish Times. And we have Tony Barnstone, who is a professor in California and a poet and a ghazalist and a memoirist and a hugely famous scholar. And then we got Tina Chang, who is the first poet laureate of Brooklyn, and she teaches. She's been teaching in America for several decades, 2 or 3 decades. So I got all these writers, and I thought, okay, we want to come to Kathmandu, and Kathmandu is very exotic for people in the West. Kathmandu has this great generosity, this image of great ancient archival value. And people grow up dreaming of coming to Kathmandu, joining the hippie trail, going to Everest. Also the people of Nepal, they are so beautiful and so full of warmth, and it has spread a great image across the world. And that's why this is happening from 29th.
Before we get into the diverse range of accomplished writers that are in Kathmandu for this festival, I just want to ask you about the inspiration behind the name of the festival itself.
Well, because I am known as Himalayan poet, and also it's taking place in Himalayas, and most of my writing is about the Himalayas. And also I go there. I think when I travel, people think that Himalayas is, is the only place. That's so easy to recognize to talk about Nepal. Otherwise, where is Nepal? Is it China or is it India, or where is Nepal? Some people is Naples.
But do you think that kind of limits the festival's idea into a single identity rather than broader civilizational idea itself? Well,
it's just a name. It's a name to stick to, and easy for people to remember, and an umbrella kind of thing. It's just I think, what's in a name, as Shakespeare says. If you put cauliflower, say it is rat, it wouldn't matter, because cauliflower or dandelion is a dandelion. So but I think it helps us get attention and kind of quintessential Nepalese image, and also the Himalayan vigor that we are exploring.
While not being limited to the identity.
No, I don't think so. It does it? Would you think so?
Let's talk about the diverse range of course, accomplished writers that you have been able to manage to bring in Kathmandu right now. What kind of diversity and messages do they bring to the festival, to the table?
Well, there are scores of writers who are, in addition to the faculty, that they are coming. There are not just the faculty who would teach workshops, but then in the festival we have all these very famous writers, including Ravi Shankar, Annie Finch, Annie Casey, Kathleen Willard, Christina, Prater, and several from India, like the editor of Hindustan Times, Manjula Narayan, she is coming. So they are writers from all different countries. From Australia, Annie Casey is coming. So these are like 40 writers who are established writers themselves. but then they also be taking part of the workshops. And so it's very, very European or American thing to be like take a master class or to take a workshop. In Nepal, faculty has to be like very senior, and then the students have to be very young. It's not like that, anyone who is like these writers are all accomplished writers themselves. But like I would join some of the workshops, like a Paul or Martin or Tina. So it depends on what you want to learn. So it's not just that there's a faculty and then there are visiting writers. So it's a kind of mix, and that's how it takes.
And what happens in the room with all these people in the same space?
Yeah, so like my workshop, like we have, let's say Tina Chang's workshop is on healing. Tessie's thing is on consciousness and poetry. So and the others join, and so we write there. It's a kind of she gives us a prompt, or she induces us to write. It's a kind of way of learning and of mastering honing your art, and seeing what's behind the creative process. And the theme of the festival is ecstasy, healing, and creative writing in New World Order. So I want to relate this to our Nepalese traditions of shamanism and healing. Shamans, the tantras, tantrics, the preachers, the sadhus, the yoga masters. So I want to relate how in the West now there is an increased interest in the psychotherapy, in the art of healing. Like shaman will play the drum and the percussion of the heart, and you have this leads you to the other world, the otherworldly consciousness. And similarly, writer does the same. He with a pen he writes, and he creates this. Shaman describes the inner turmoil of his patient through the ritual objects, the sacrificial rooster or drum. And similarly, writer dramatizes the drama of the characters of his mind through his. Both are similar in a way. The creative process is similar. Shamanism is the first spiritual discipline in the history of mankind. Even before other disciplines, Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism came, shamanism was there, and the first spiritual discipline. So it's very crucial, and we have live, it's a living religion, it's a living phenomena in Nepal. The shamanism, though it's considered a kind of witchcraft, and it's defamed, and it's kind of. I would say like there are bad doctors and good doctors. Similarly, there are good shamans and bad shamans, but then some shamans get kind of maligned. But overall, shamanism is a very pristine, very indigenous and very extremely original practice. Because if you go to a doctor in the modern world, they will test your body, and they will give you X-rays, and they will test blood tests, and they stop where the body stops. They won't go beyond if everything is okay, but still you're having a pain. What's behind it? So I think the shamans go there. They start where the body stops. So they are mind-related illnesses. So these, and similarly the writing, poetry, fiction, like chants, mantras. The mantra is a one-breath unit. Om bhurva swatat savitr bhariniyam vargo divas diyo yon parchodayat. So I said this mantra in one breath, and breath is what connects you to the cosmos. So it's a healing impact. The prayers. So we are trying to explore how creative writing, creative process is related to these practices, which are as ancient as mankind. Even before birth of Buddha, the shamans existed. Buddha took some of them, like green Tara, and left out the rock goddesses who demanded sacrifice. So it's a kind of very pristine idea, and I think West is trying to understand it. And so we are trying to see what's behind this whole idea of creative writing. How writer works, and how a shaman or a tantric or a religious, or a holy man, a saint. So we're trying to explore these hidden areas in this. That's the theme. That's what we are focusing. We have panels, we have master classes, we have workshops, and so we want to bring some of the shamans into this festival. Some of the tantrics or some of the holy people who practice the art of healing.
And they will be there?
Yeah, they'll be there. We'll have an altar and all that.
So when we talk about the length and depth of this whole aspect, we're of course talking about creative writing as well. What for you would determine a good quality creative poetry?
I mean...
because there are many writers, right? And there will be participants in this festival who will want to learn about doing it as best as possible.
Well, I know there's no sure-shot formula. This is something that moves, the thing that moves. So, and also that kind of touches you. And also there are, we have to, I mean, that's what the whole thing is about, what is good and what's not. And how good a writing should be, and what to avoid, what to use. So that's the whole process that we'll be discussing, like fiction workshop, memoir workshop, poetry workshop, so non-fiction workshops. So we will try to, these experts, these are our faculties, these writers who are teaching in Harvard or Princeton or Columbia or California would be sharing their creative process, the art of writing, an art of experiencing things, and also the creative process that goes into making of a novel. Like Jean, we have Jean who's a very famous novelist. So she'll be taking the fiction. She'll talk about her process. How Jean Benef, she's a great novelist. HBO had a movie on one of her books called The Plot. And it's Nicole Kidman and all. They were, so she's hugely popular. She will be there, and she will be discussing our art of fiction.
Do you think, when I asked you what makes a poetry or a creation perfect, do you think it also depends on the audience, the frame of mind that they are? Yeah,
I mean, like some novels which are classic, they're hardly readable. Some of like Melville's books, were ignored, and nobody read Herman Melville. Even Moby Dick was, a failure in the beginning. People didn't understand it, and then later it became the world classic. So they're example. I mean, so everything depends on some things are instantly popular, instantly they appeal. Some things they make a history in the years to come or decades to come. Like Gopal Prasad Rimal in Nepal, was ignored and kind of considered a kind of crazy guy, and he, I think, at the moment is one of the best writers. That at par, that could be placed in front of a world audience. So it depends, there are political situations, there are geological, geographical, there are like censorship, there are all kind of trouble. So, but I think good writing somehow will tear open these curtains of obscurity and reach the real people over decades. So it has often happened. But I think first thing is, the intensity you put in writing a thing and honesty behind it is actually main thing. The response and if it's popular or not is a secondary thing. So that's the whole idea.
I'm glad you mentioned about Gopal Prasad Rimal, also known as Adhunik poet. How do you view modern poetry at the moment? What is it like? Yeah,
that's why my whole idea is that I think Nepal is a country of poets only. Poets and poets, even in this room I can host a poetry reading, but everybody, I'm sure your cameraman and you people around, even your director is a poet, everybody. In Nepal, a poor beggar, a potter, a businessman, a millionaire, a king, a politician, a prime minister, everybody is a poet. Nepal is the only country in the world, except Ireland, where everybody is a poet again. But I think Nepal is a special, because people they think with the heart. People have this great passion for nature and for writing. And I go out, I go to Europe, and I go in this kind, like in your subway, and the people have black clothes and sitting very glum, and I come to Nepal and people like the whole happiness, and the ritual in the face, the bliss, the happiness, that's visible, and they are in the ritualized kind of state of ecstasy. They are walking around, and so I'm delighted. That's why I love them. Nepalese people are so beautiful, and go in the mountains, and if not in Kathmandu, go to the mountain, and people are so ritualized, so happy, and talk to you as if you're a long lost friend. So that I think that is the great generosity of Nepalese life and Nepalese people, and that has to be captured. And there's a great bank of generosity of Nepali people that is that I think shouldn't be squandered. So my idea is that poetry should be the main target of tourism in Nepal. I think Nepali poetry itself is a great. And somebody I met, he said Nepal has 3 religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, and tourism. And tourism also of poetry, because poetry is the main passion of Nepalese people. I think that's why no matter what they say of fiction, there's that what is being written, and there are kind of a lot of talk about it and how they kind of promote it and they try to present it as a very saleable thing. But I think the soul of Nepalese people, the soul of Himalayas lies in the poetry of Nepal.
I think when you say that, I almost saw the birth of a poet in myself, but I know I would fail miserably on it. What do you hope the discussions on Nepali literature and Nepali art in this festival achieve beyond the festival halls?
So we are having several panels. We have especially women writers meet and women writers panel. We have, this festival is dedicated to Guru Prasad Menali, who is the pioneer, a legendary figure, father figure in Nepalese fiction. He wrote great stories, and so we are dedicating the entire festival to him. And similarly, we will have several panels on Guru Prasad Menali, as well as we want to have a panel on contemporary Nepalese fiction, which is kind of very shadowy. So we have the illusion and reality. They try to push it and make it very commercial, try to sell it. I think it's the poetry which is more vital than they are like. They kind of made a market out of it and try to say, but they are all writing kind of very second grade kind of work, imitating the Western classics or bestsellers or Nobel Prize winners or Booker winners. So they're kind of copycats. So I think the poetry is its own right. It's a truly, essentially, it's quintessential force and very original. I think poetry should be promoted, and poetry should be the heart of any endeavor to present Nepal elsewhere in the world. And that's why we have a few prominent poets, and most of actually exciting poets will be here from different parts of the world. So I think we need to work on Nepalese image. But the thing is, poetry, they say, doesn't sell, and then they don't promote poetry, and because everybody is a poet, and everybody, it's very crazy phenomena. Everybody publishes a book and gives it out free. So the market is very different, and government doesn't help, and there's no grants, no donations, people, everybody, even a wealthy man or a poor man, everyone wants to publish a book of poems and give it out to everybody. Can you believe it?
That's also one of the challenges, right, of being a creative writer. You have to make a living. And when you talk about many writers are copying the Western patterns, you have to make a living. So that's one of the challenges. Not many are as successful as the accomplished writers that are in Kathmandu right now.
Yeah, but because it's Western art. Fiction is Western. It's not rooted in Nepalese soil, Nepalese soul. So they mimic, since even B.P. Korala and all that, early, even Guru Prasad Menali is more under the influence of Maupassant or Chekhov. So the shadow of Western giants is very heavy on Nepalese fiction. Whereas in poetry, we are from Mahabharata, Ramayana, Vedas, and we have our own voice. And poets like Rimal, like Leknath Paudel, these are like great poets. So in their own right, they don't need to be compared with anyone else. There's no shadow of poets hanging, of world poets. And although in the later era, in the 60s and 70s later, they came under the influence of some of the poets, like especially fiction in Nepal is under the influence of Western, especially Russian formalism, more realism. So most of the Nepalese fiction is written under either Russian masters or in like Kafka, Kamo, and that kind of. And now the Marquez, they are trying to follow that and try to show So it's not very original, most of you, if you see it. But poetry, I'm saying, that's why I insist, the soul of Nepal lies in its poetry, in its original, and its voice. Because since centuries, it's in the DNA of Nepalese people, of South Asian people. Small little communities even in like local languages, Newari, Tamang, you know, even the ethnic groups have their own language, their own culture, their own poetry, and the song which is unsung, unheard here, which is limited in their own language, the folklore and the shamanic chants. So there's a great whole world behind Nepalese poetry and why everybody is a poet. It's a great phenomena, and that is being ignored, saying, "Oh, you're a poet, you don't sell," or you know. So this is one of the craziest critics, I think, said, "Oh, you should not write poetry, you should write fiction only," which is a horrible thing to say. So I think in Nepal, we should invest in Europe. I think most of the poets who published they get grants from the government. I haven't seen any book being published without grant from in UK, Europe. But here there's no grant. And imagine a guy selling his mother's earrings or his wife's nose ring or bangles and publishing book of poems. He's selling his land. Can't see the passion and madness of being a poet here. I mean, it's unprecedented. Nowhere in the world you see a phenomenon like this. So I think, and the force and commotion that the creative phenomena is so overwhelming and so original and so dramatic. I think, and these so-called commercial publishers trying to, and they are small and they don't matter much in the world stage. But still, I'm saying they discourage the poets. Is saying that, well, your poetry doesn't sell. Poetry doesn't have to sell. Poetry its whole idea is to win the hearts, not to sell. But that narrative is being tarnished by these petty publishers and these newfangled these copycats of Western. You know, they want to give advanced royalties, which is meager and nothing. So it's a very strange kind of thing, and poetry is suffering. And poets are feeling discouraged and ignored.
When you say that, is it your intention to protect originality and what's organic in here? Or is it also a disdain towards fiction? Because a large number of audience do buy fiction more.
No, but I have written a novel myself. I have a novel. That doesn't mean that I should. But what I'm saying is what is good in Nepal.
What needs to be preserved?
Yeah, it's to preserve. And also, fiction is not good. It's all copycats. See, they are third grade writers. Most of them, if you have read the Western classics, you wouldn't read them. Most of if you read Nepali fiction, you know that, I mean, beginning from the old times, the O. Henry, Lawrence, some of them it looks like they translated and they forgot to write the name of the original writer. Except even the title they can't change. Like Quiet Flows of Dawn, there's the exact same title. So, we should write a novel, we should publish novel, but then there has to be a good. Because it's always under the shadow of these looming Western giants. Either they are Booker Award winners or they are either great classics. So and that's all. And the thing is, not many books arrive here. So most of them read all these popular books which arrive. Most of them haven't even heard the very genuine names of US, UK, Canada, because most of the translations are not available of Western, European or Latin American. Like, for example, the surrealism, you won't find any reference to surrealism, wherein Latin America is so popular, you know. Not many novels have been written with the influence of surrealism. Surrealism is so crucial to Latin American fiction, writing.
Two questions here. Do you see the imaginative escapism that fictions provide as of any value at all? And second, what do you think of these barometers like Man Booker Prizes that determine or make novels and writings popular among the larger audience around the world?
Yeah, it's a market. It's a market thing, and they want to sell their books here. So they want novels from each country, like every year. So there's now, with the digital revolution and with the phone dependence, there's a big scale. The books are not selling, and bookstores are shutting down in America or Europe, and it's a lot of trouble. So they are expanding and they're trying to find a market, And so these like in India is a big market, China is a big market, Taiwan is. So these so it's a whole marketing thing. But I'm not against it. I'm saying it's good. You know, it's I've written a novel. I'm trying to promote it. I'm trying to sell it. But I think we have to be careful about that. What is at stake? Poetry is at stake in Nepal, and poetry is people have stopped writing poetry and they start writing a novel. It's going to become a very fashion thing. It's a fashionable thing that you don't write poetry, you write a novel and try to get some attention. Which is
so there's a commercial angle to it, to the argument. Let's get back to poetry, of course. Politics and borders have often divided people, but literature can cross those borders. How do you see poetry and writing helping unite emotions, memory and civilization?
Yeah, poets, they say the poets and sadhus, the holy people, and rivers have no caste, no nation. So they like the river starts from China, comes to India, goes to Nepal or to Pakistan, and goes to India or goes to the sea. You know, so these rivers and holy people have no. So the language, poetry is like that. You know. So
do you think it's a form of soft diplomacy?
Of course, I mean the whole subcontinent. You know, like Ramayana, it has been translated in Bhanubhakti Ramayana. In India, there were maybe more than 100 translations of Ramayana. The same book, the same story. And in some Ramayanas, there's in fact, there's one of the Ramayana. There is the Ravan doesn't have even a head; he's a headless man. You know, or Sita is very close kind of daughter of Ravana. And in Bhanubhakti Ramayana, Sita is a kind of very homely kind of. She's not like a princess. She's going to the water well and bringing water. She's very kind of local mountain kind of lady. So it's very beautiful how they have adopted, each country, each region, each language has adopted this great epic into their own versions. So that's why the importance of poetry in that way, and that it has different, each country, each region has their own, the small circles like Malayalam, Kannada, Punjabi, Telugu, Nepal. Now here in this Nepali, they have their own, the same book they are dealing, like Meghdutta, or like you know, all these classics they are rewriting. So poetry is like also the idea of individual talent and authorship is new. You know, first the Mahabharata, Ramayana, they just wrote and they added the chapter and they left. They never mentioned their name. Vyasa, some guy, so the authorship is a 20th century and 19th century idea that you are an author. So Brahmins, the priests, they wrote the book and they added a chapter to Mahatmya. And that was a spiritual work. It's a holy job. So what do, you just write and you add it to the great book, Mahabharata or Ramayana or Upanishads. So it's nothing of that I am the author, I am the great writer, I need to deserve this award. No, it's a humble job to just write and add to the whole treasure, the great body of work that's being already available.
In your observation so far of the literary ecosystem in Nepal, how do you think we can, the government can, the state or the society support young writers to continue?
Yeah, so I am actually working with young writers now with the festival. We have this lot of new, you know, we are Prodigy Group, a very young, energetic, you know, thing. And also I go to different campuses. I go to MIT, Kathmandu Model College, Kathmandu Himalayan House, Himalayan White House, and all these other schools. I was talking to British College School, and also talking to these Aramb, all these. I'm trying to get these students there, and we'll send some of the writers to these schools, and they will interact with these Nepalese writers and see if they are good writers, and they can ask them questions and interact with them. So so I want these are helping us, all these younger groups, the Prodigy and others. So I'm trying to mix up with them and trying to see what's happening in the local. There's a slam poetry, there's a spoken word, and there is story writing, there's fiction writing, there's memoir writing. So it's all happening. But I'm going to the more lower level, the younger generations, and trying to see how it's shaping. So this festival will help us in exploring the creative currents that are prevalent in Nepalese society, especially in the younger generations.
Do you think gender shape literary voice, themes, and the way stories are told and also received?
It's very interesting that you know, in our parts, from the sense, like Shiva is half Parvati, half the Ardhanariswar. In our culture, there's always been gender equality. So only that the later hierarchical and more Brahminical order kind of destroyed the entire concept of So especially in this festival, we're trying to have women, like we have a special thing on women writing. And I think women, actually there's a problem with the Nepalese women writing, is that they try to come when they're young, they come in our circles. But then the taboos, and they get married, and then they vanish for 10 years. So when I tried, and they come back, they have lost most of their vitality. The marriage, because I know one very famous writer, so she was young, she was energetic, so I wanted to call her to the reading, one of the events. I called her mother-in-law picked up the phone and said, "Oh, who are you?" I said, "I'm a writer, and I want to talk." And then, "Why do you want to talk to my daughter-in-law?" So I was kind of, I said, "Yeah, okay." I dropped the phone because she's saying, "Who is this guy? Why is he trying to call my daughter-in-law? And why he wants her to come to poetry reading?" So for women, it's very challenging. The social structure of so most of the women they can't really progress because the social structure is such. They get married, they for 10-12 years they have children and they send them to school, and also it's a very male dominated society. So women are like, there's a lot of gossip, and so it's a lot of shaming, and so it's not very conducive. Women who are writing, I admire them a great deal, and that's why we're having women special sessions and women panels, and I think something has to be done about Nepalese women writing, because structure is such that they have to. I mean, just like I came here, if I were a girl, it will be very difficult for me to run this kind of festival because my in-laws, my husband will think it's crazy. What is she doing? So it can be very intimidating. Upper class is okay, but for a middle class or lower middle class, especially to come from a mountain village, come here, establish yourself, get education. It's a whole nightmare. So it's really, I admire women who are writing. I salute them.
Well, change is a gradual process. Let's be hopeful about it. You also translate literature.
Right.
When a text carries local culture and maybe social tensions as well, and references that may be unfamiliar or sensitive to other environment, how do you preserve its spirit?
Well, first of all, translation is art of the impossible. It's not possible to translate a poem or emotion. So they say that it's not 2 plus 2 is not 4 there. So first of all, translation is a kind of humble art. So when I'm not writing my work, Robert Lowell says that in the spring of my life I write my poetry. In the winter of my life I translate. So when you are not active yourself, it's good to, also you learn a lot when you're translating other writers. So it's a great thing to translate, to learn and to master your art of writing. I translate novels from Chinese with the help of English, and from Slovenia, and from Hindi, or I've translated Nepalese poetry into English, Nepali fiction into English. And I run this magazine called Pratik, which publishes all these translations. But I think art, the question that you ask is that, of course, it's not possible. How do you
navigate?
Yeah. So the whole idea is that you have, only a poet can translate. Like if you have poetry, only a poet can translate poetry, because he will know an equivalent of that thing. And also, poetry is metaphors. So, like English teacher wouldn't know how to make a metaphor, because they're all subtle intricacies of writing a poem. So I think if a poet translates, who knows both the languages, he'll be able to create, this metaphor, or the inner world that's involved with the music and with the words. So I think especially metaphor is very important. Sometimes, like when you cannot, like I always give the example, like Rimal ko poem. Rimal has poem. He says, "Kranti le mero chhak tarne baki nahi cha. Maine kranti le salam kari sake." Ab chhak tarne baki is like, it's a metaphor. So unless you are a poet,
how do you write it?
Yeah. So it's the revolution has to make. I translate the poem. So it has to. I have to have its. It has to it has to satisfy the hungers of my mind, you know. So some metaphor is needed there. So when I translate a poem, I had to create a metaphor. So only a poet can do that. So only otherwise this Kranti le chhak tarne baki nahi cha. So chhak tarne actually has to be translated in English. Like you have to imagine that if Rimal were writing in English, what would he have written? So that kind of parallel consciousness. That's why is writing.
It's a wonderful example, but it's also a general one that anyone can relate to. But have you come across challenging translations that was sensitive to some other region it was going to?
Yeah, I mean, even readings. Like some poems I read in America or New York or in London, people are falling off the chair, you know. And here I read I can be unnerved. Some relatives will be very upset. You know, like some words. So
exactly.
it can be. So I have to pick up poems like I go to a school, and I can't read a poem that I will read in New York. You know, so some poems you have to be careful. You know, and some poems I read here, with people laugh off their heads here. Probably in New York they won't understand. You know, so it can be. That's the whole art. So when I go to a reading, I go these countries. So I'll first look at the audience and decide which poems I will read. I'll see audience, what age, what kind of women or men, and what kind of, if they know English or they don't know French or so I have to understand sensibility, you know, what kind of class. So as a speaker, I have to take into consideration all. Then it will be. I'm a commercial speaker. I'm a writer, so I have to make. I'm living with my writing. So I go and sell my books, sign my books, or get invited to these festivals. So I have to be good. So it all depends on how you understand the situation and how good you are and what you have in your quiver. You know, all kind of stuff that you must have.
It's a really fast-paced world that we live in, especially with the digital space. Do you think consumption has changed? Has audiences' taste changed, or is it easier these days to access to the audience and vice versa?
Yeah, it has done both. You know, it's it's a whole internet and all. I said in the beginning, like 30 years ago, I said, this is a whole corporate thing. It's all in a few hands. And they are using your thing, and it's the attention, you know, the page of the flash,
attention span,
or the span, like the quick, the posts, and you know you put them up, and so it's and you forget next day, you know, so it's very damaging for the mind, and but it somehow it helps also. Like I could travel. If there was no internet, I probably wouldn't be able to become a Himalayan poet, because I could connect through net and I could go there. But then again, there is and then there are poetry events, like there are online things you can promote and you can sell yourself. So it's both. But I think it's very damaging because it takes so much, it consumes so much of your time, and so your mind becomes a blank slate. And so it's kind of it's crazy. So I wish to return to that early. Like in Himalayas, I go trek in the mountain. I see this guy on the phone now. Oh my God! It depresses me so much. In the wild, nature, where I trekked for 5 days, and then I see this guy, chatting on the phone. The whole solitude, the idea of being lonely and having a conversation with yourself. Exploring your soul. Himalayas has been a great place of self-revelation, self-understanding, of discovering your own self. Yogis and sadhus and holy people have gone up, and Mahabharata, after they die, winning the war, they all go up the Himalayas and die. So it's a great place of spiritual solace, because there's silence. With the internet, with all this, silence is impossible.
Over the course of time, of course, you've witnessed a lot of evolution of poetry and literature itself. How do you see the new generation accommodating it and maybe evolving it in the days to come?
Yeah, I was a little depressed in the middle of my whole journey, but now I see that this is a new enthusiasm. Even in US, the new bookshops opening, and the respect for the book returning. In the subways, people started reading books again in London, in Europe. So there is a kind of revival. People understand now that the whole corporate, fun this whole how they are taken for granted, especially COVID. People understood that how. I have this book called Lost Horoscope, so I tried to discuss that. How the pandemic made them realize that how lonely you are, and how you need to have a soul to understand yourself and the world around you. So I think I see a strange change now. I think the book is being, hopefully I'm right, the book is being revived, and people are taking interest in poetry, in creative arts. And I think my festival is, Himalayan Literature Festival, is a kind of attempt to generate a generation of writers and have a place where we can have solace, we can have quiet moment, we can celebrate silence of the giant Himalayas. And that's my mission.
Before we bid you goodbye, what are you currently engaged on? What themes are you exploring, and what's pushing you as a writer?
Right. So I just finished my book on pandemic. I just came out. It's called God's Messy Workplace. So we are going to launch it in the festival. You're welcome to join us. And also I've just finished a novel on my my travels, and especially my story, because my father was a great devout follower of Naga sadhus, sadhus, holy people. So at one time he tried to donate me to them. He said, Guru, I have two sons, take him, and I give him to him. The sadhu refused. He looked at me, he said, he's a good boy, send him to school. If he hadn't said that, you have no idea what it will look like today. So this novel begins there, and that's how my entire story, journey as a travel, is about that character. Also, it's very magical. It has Yati as a main character in my novel, which is now I'm trying to sell it to the agents in the US and in India and elsewhere. And so writing a novel is not a crime, but ignoring poetry is not good. So that's my whole thesis.
It seems like the prophecy was real and it proved well.
Right.
And when can your followers expect the arrival of your latest creation?
I have some publishers in New York who want to publish it. So I'm waiting for probably a bigger. So I think 2000 probably 27 should see the face of publication.
Congratulations in advance for the festival, and also all the best. It was wonderful having you on the show.
Thank you. Namaste. Yes.
Well, the Himalayan Literature Festival and Writers Workshop is happening from May 29 to 5th of June in Kathmandu. With more than 75 writers from all over the globe, the theme for this year's festival is ecstasy, healing and creative writing in the New World Order. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Insight. Until next time.
Hom Bahadur Tamang, a gifted Thangka artist from the spiritual heart of Bodha, has turned his craft into a global bridge between tradition and business.
Thangka चाहिँ मैले 1970 सिक्न सुरुवात गरेको. मेरो टिचर चाहिँ म भन्दा अघिल्लो मेरो दाइ हो, साइला दाइ. मेरो चाहिँ बाउपादेखि नै कलाकार हुनुहुन्थ्यो. पाटन, भक्तपुर, छामेल, दरबार स्क्वायरमा यसै पसल बेच्ने काम हुन्थ्यो. अनि त्यो बेच्दा मैले यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ विदेशीले किन्दो रहेछ, आफैले विदेशसँग बेच्नुपर्छ भन्ने अलिकति मनमा मलाई अलिकति सोच आयो. त्यसपछि मैले 2050 सालमा यहाँ सुरु गरेँ, आजभन्दा 32 वर्ष अगाडि.
What began as a young artist's journey through the streets of Kathmandu has blossomed into a thriving enterprise where sacred art meets business and tourism. With every brushstroke, home brings Nepal's rich spiritual heritage to the world, transforming Thanka painting into a symbol of cultural fusion.
त्यो बेला चाहिँ पसल कोही पनि यहाँ थिएन किनभने त्यो मार्केटले चाहिँ कहाँ मार्केट हुन्छ भन्ने खोज्दै रहेछ त्यो खोज्ने क्रममा म यहाँ आइपुग्यो विदेशीहरू पनि यहाँ त्यति अहिले जस्तो बस्दैन 5 मिनेट 10 मिनेटमा घुमेर जानुहुन्थ्यो त्यतिखेर खाने रेस्टुरेन्ट पनि एकजना मात्रै थियो एउटा मात्रै थियो अहिले चाहिँ होस् त्यो बेला र अहिलेमा धेरै आकाश जमिनको फरक भएको छ
His story is one of passion, innovation, and a deep commitment to preserving tradition while embracing the future.
विशेष गरी यो बौद्ध स्तूपसँग रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धको शिक्षासँग रिलेटेड यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ संसारको मानिसहरू यो स्तूपलाई घुम्ने क्रममा यो प्रार्थना गर्ने मेन आउने ठाउँ चाहिँ यो रहेछ त्यसो भएको हुनाले यो चाहिँ विशेष गरी ओल्ड हेरिटेज साइटमा चाहिँ त्यो पनि के हो बुद्धिस्टको भएको हुनाले चाहिँ नेपालभरि कुनै थाङ्का बिक्ने ठाउँ चाहिँ अति महत्त्वपूर्ण चाहिँ यो नै हो वास्तवमा किनभने रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धसँग
From the hills of Ramethap to the heart of Bodha, Home Bahadur Damang has a glorious story to tell. A story of will, determination, struggle, and success.
म आफै पनि रामसाप दुर्गम जिल्लामा जन्मेको चाहिँ रोजगार छैन त्यहाँ स्कुल छैन कलेज छैन हस्पिटल छैन रोजगार छैन त्यसपछि म पनि रोजगारकै क्रममा यहाँ आएर मैले सुरुवात गर्यो अहिले चाहिँ म लगभग 49 वर्ष भयो यही पेशा गरेर दाल भात खाएको अब नयाँ पुस्तालाई पनि मैले हस्तान्तरण गर्नुपर्छ है भन्ने मेरो एउटा उद्देश्यले चाहिँ अहिले मैले नयाँ पुस्तालाई चाहिँ गाउँबाट आउनुहुन्छ स्कुल सकेर अनि बिहान चाहिँ कलेज जानुहुन्छ दिउँसो काम छैन त्यसकारणले मैले 3 महिना फ्री ट्रेनिङ दिने गरेको छ उहाँको स्किल अन्त टेस्ट गरेर हामीले यही तलब दिएर जस्तो बिहान कलेज पनि भ्यायो उसको कति हो त्यसो त्यहाँबाट एक्स्ट्रा टाइम चाहिँ 5 घण्टा 6 घण्टा 7 घण्टा मैले पनि यहाँ जीवन चलाउने चाहिँ काम भइरहेको छ अहिले
For 49 years, he painted, taught, and empowered young artisans. Today, his school preserves tradition and creates futures.
हामीले यहाँ सुरुमा इन्टरभ्यु लिन्छु त्यसपछि एक हप्ता चाहिँ नि सानो र क्यानभासमा हात ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु त्यसको शरीरको बडीहरु अलिकति ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु अनि एक हप्तापछि ओके भनेर ओके या यस भने कोही कोही मानिस नसक्ने चाहिँ नि आधा घण्टामा 1 घण्टामा उठेर गइहाल्छ म सक्दैन ढाड दुख्यो किन उसको मन धेरै भएर गयो त्यो सक्दैन उ आउँदैन एक दिन पनि आउँदैन मात्रै आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो हामीले अपाङ्गले पनि सिकाएको छ जस्तो बाहिर कान नसुन्ने पनि सिकाएको छ आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो त्यस्तै हो
As interest in Buddhism grows worldwide, so does the appreciation for our sacred art. Foreigners now come not just to admire but to learn, studying our architecture techniques and meditative Thanka traditions, giving new life to what was once known only within our borders.
बुद्धिज्म नेपाल हो नेपालमा जति छन् विश्वसम्पादकमा सूचीमा भएको मठ मन्दिर गुम्बद छ यसैबाट उहाँले पनि सिकेको वास्तवमा यो जुन बौद्ध स्तूपरा भनौं लुम्बिनी त्यो जस्तो उहाँहरूले बनाउन सक्दैन तर यसको चाहिँ एकदम महत्त्वपूर्ण के छ भगवान या चाहिँ दोस्रो तेस्रो बुद्धको रिलेटिभ यहाँ छ जति चाहिँ अहिले संसारमा यो बुद्धिज्म फैलिँदै जान्छ यो महायान बुद्धिज्म त्यतिकै ठाउँको भ्यालु चाहिँ बढ्दै छ अहिले जस्तो मेरै कुरा हो मैले 40-45 वर्ष यति ठाउँको महत्त्व थिएन किनभने वर्ल्ड वाइडमा बुद्धिज्ममा थिएन विदेशीहरूले जानेकै थिएन उनीहरूले त्यो सुरसुर आउँदाखेरि सानो तिनी एउटा नेपाल आउँदाखेरि सुपर नेट किन नलैजाऊ भन्ने मान्दै लाइन्थ्यो अहिले चाहिँ उहाँहरू चाहिँ जस्तो अमेरिका युरोप तपाईको यो सिङ्गापुर ताइवान मलेसिया विभिन्न देशमा चाहिँ अहिले बुद्धिस्ट प्र्याक्टिसनर धेरै उहाँहरू चाहिँ गर्नुहुन्छ त्यसको लागि चाहिँ एकदमै महत्त्वपूर्ण छ त्यसकारणले भविष्यमा यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ छ यसको मार्केट छ
As an artist, entrepreneur, and a master, he feels fulfilled, creating beauty, guiding others, and living with purpose.
मैले संसार जीवन जगतलाई थाहा पायो अहिले हामी सांसारिक जीवन छ सांसारिक जीवनमा कसरी जिउने र अर्कोलाई पनि कसरी जिउन दिने कला थाहा पायो त्यसपछि अब जुन देशमा जन्मे पनि जुन कुलमा जन्मे पनि 100% निश्चित के हो भने मृत्यु छ त्यो त निश्चित हो नि एउटै निश्चित छैन कहिले पनि निश्चित छैन तर त्यो मर्नेमा म कसरी मर्ने भन्ने कला पनि थाहा पाएँ मलाई त धेरै परिवर्तन भएको छ मैले परिवर्तन भयो भने के हुन्छ मैले ठुलो पचेरो चढ्यो ठुलो गाडी त्यस्तो होइन तर मलाई खुसी छ सादा दाल भात खान पाएछ मैले परिवार पाल्नु पाएछ यही ठाङ्गाले म जापान घुम्यो युरोप गयो चाइना घुम्यो बुद्धिस्ट कन्ट्री सबै घुमेको छ सबै ठाउँमा मैले घुम्नलाई मलाई पैसाको आपत पनि परेन ठाङ्गा सँगसँगै लान्दै ब्रिफिङ गर्दै बेच्दै दर्शन बेचेको हो त्यसकारण मलाई त एकदम खुसी छु म त पनि
How many countries can you recognize by just looking at their flags? 20, 40, maybe 60. Today I'm joined by a young prodigy from Kathmandu, Nepal, who has far surpassed those numbers. At just 10 years old, Kripal Paudel secured his place in the World Book of Records by successfully identifying and reciting the flags of every country in the world in just 1 minute and 40 seconds. This historic feat was officially recorded on July 10, 2024. Kripal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Are you excited for the interview?
Yes, I'm already excited for this interview.
We'll show you random 40 flags and you have to name them as fast as possible.
Canada, Morocco, Russia, Malaysia, Thailand, Ethiopia, Guatemala, Belgium, Dominican Republic, Switzerland, Lithuania, Iceland, Italy, Spain, Ecuador, Montenegro, Cuba, Rwanda, South Korea, Haiti, Chile, Bolivia, Luxembourg, Honduras, Venezuela, Bangladesh, Portugal, Estonia, Kenya, Vietnam, Belarus, Greece, Nicaragua, Uruguay, Colombia, Finland, Zimbabwe, Peru, Tunisia, Ireland, Netherlands, Kosovo.
So, Kripal, how do you memorize them? When you see a flag, do you see a picture or do you see the name of the country instantly in your head?
First of all, it's interest of any people. Like, I have an interest in geography. I read geography books and I know the flags of these countries so well.
When did you first realize you had this superpower? And was it just a hobby or you had to memorize for school exams?
No, it was not to memorize for school exams. It was my hobby, and I have recognized it like for last 3 years, 4 years like that.
So walk us through your world record journey.
So it was amazing and wonderful. And throughout the journey, we introduced a form in the Worldwide Book of Records. And as the journey continues, we attended this record in my school, and we got that certificate and all that medals, etc.
How does it feel to represent Nepal on the global stage of the World Book of Records?
It was very proud to recognize my country, my motherland, Nepal, to recognize on the world's global. Yeah, it is so. It means that Nepalese people are also educated.
Now tell us more about yourself. Is it just flags or are you this fast with maths, history, dates or any other subjects?
Yeah, all subjects I got full marks in practical also, theory also. And all subjects I'm very good at, excellent at. but it's all about creativity of an normal people. Every people has an interest, and if they follow their interest, they will become success in the world.
Do you consider your talent as normal?
Yeah, it's normal for me. I don't know how other people will think about it.
Who is your biggest cheerleader?
My parents are my biggest cheerleaders. They support me in every way. They support me in every situation, and I'm very thankful to have parents like them.
Let's talk beyond your world record.
Yes.
Who is Cripple Powder, and what are your interests?
So, Cripple Powder is basically a normal person. My hobbies are to study about geography, to study about politics, to study about news, climates, and beyond that studies, I also have interest in sports and other categories.
Okay, now let's talk about your future. You've already bagged the world record now. What's next?
After an attempt in Guinness Book of World Records, and I'm doing 3D animation in Blender, 2D animation in After Effects, Adobe Premiere Pro, and Illustrator also. And also, it's been great to do this.
You're interested in technology as well?
Yes. I didn't have a decision to become what in future.
Oh, you've not decided yet?
Yes. I'm so small too.
So when you think about you being an adult, what comes to your mind? What profession suits you?
I have been doing 3D animation in the past 1 year, and I'm doing a great job in 3D animation, so my interest is 3D animation also.
So outside of flags and studying, what is Cripple's favorite thing to do?
I want to socialize with my parents, and I want to travel also. I want to travel the world's countries.
Now, here's a fun segment. I'll ask you a question. You need to answer in one word, or you can just answer it in one sentence. Are you ready?
Yes.
The first question is, which one do you think is the coolest looking or has the best color or shape?
I'm not disrespecting every flags. They are all beautiful in their people's angles. But as being a Nepali flags is a different one from all the world's flag.
Which one was the hardest to memorize?
So probably the longer words flag, it can be anything like Kazakhstan and maybe Uzbekistan. I saw many flags like Monaco and Indonesia. They are same. Indonesia and Poland are also same. Ireland and Cote d'Ivoire, they are also similar.
Is there a country you want to visit just because its flag is cool?
The coolest one I want to go to is Switzerland, maybe.
Switzerland, just because its flag is beautiful?
Yes.
Are you interested in just countries or the cities as well?
As learning geography, cities are also important to learn, and I'm learning about cities as well as the states as well.
Do you ever see flags in your dreams?
I haven't seen a flag in my dream.
Now we've come to the end of the show. Do you have anything that you want to share with your audience?
I'm very grateful to my parents and thankful to my parents. And also I learned 3D animation in Pixel Media, which is a company that provides you how to learn about 3D animation, 2D animation. And I want to thank to all the members of the NTV World to giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
US President Donald Trump has said he cancelled planned strikes against Iran, saying military action would be avoided if Tehran agrees to a deal quickly. In a post on Truth Social, Trump claimed Iran and other regional countries had urged Washington to delay an attack, adding that the outlines of an agreement had been established. Iran rejected the claim, with the semi-official Mehr news agency saying Tehran had not requested a pause in the US military action and accused Trump of spreading false information. Iran's acting defense minister said the country viewed threats from its opponents as serious and warned that Tehran would not remain passive. The comments followed reports that the United States and Israel are considering intensified strikes on Iranian targets, including energy infrastructure. US officials had also advised Americans in the Middle East to remain alert amid concerns over a possible escalation. Trump said the US military remained prepared for action, but argued that avoiding strikes could benefit regional stability and Iran's future. The latest developments come after previous US warnings and diplomatic efforts failed to produce a lasting agreement between Washington and Tehran. A strengthening El Niño weather pattern could reach record levels and intensify the impacts of climate change, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has warned. Guterres said the phenomenon is adding further pressure to a planet already facing rising temperatures and extreme weather events.
2 months ago, I warned that El Niño was arriving on our doorstep. Now it is inside the house and turning up the heat. We have already endured the summer of extremes, record-shattering heat domes, apocalyptic wildfires raging in Spain, France, and far beyond. Thousands of lives lost in the scorching conditions.
Speaking to the UN, Guterres said El Niño had moved from an approaching threat to an active global climate challenge, increasing the risk of heat waves, droughts, floods, and other climate-related disasters.
Global sea surface temperatures with records in June and July. But according to the latest science, this is only a warm-up act. New forecasts released today by the World Meteorological Organization provide a stark picture of the period from August through October. El Niño is strengthening, adding fuel to a planet already on fire.
Climate experts are closely monitoring the development of the weather pattern, which can influence global temperatures and weather conditions. The UN chief urged countries to accelerate climate action and strengthen measures to address the growing impacts of global warming. Thousands of migrants who crossed into Spain's North African enclave of Ceuta from Morocco have returned after being escorted back to the border by Spanish security forces, following one of the largest sudden migration surges in recent years. The crossings left at least 72 people dead, with bodies recovered from the sea alongside abandoned flotation devices. The incident has triggered political tensions across Europe, reigniting debate over migration policies and border controls. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez criticized European leaders for what he described as a lack of support during the crisis, while Italy's government accused Spain of taking a softer approach to migration. The surge has also raised questions over what triggered the mass arrivals, with officials investigating whether misleading social media campaigns encouraged migrants to travel to Ceuta played a role. European governments have called for stronger measures to prevent irregular migration, while Spain defended its approach, saying the country needs foreign workers due to an aging population. Officials continue to examine the circumstances behind the crossings as concerns grow over the role of misinformation and organized migration networks. A small aircraft carrying foreign tourists to view Peru's famous Nazca lines has crashed in southern Peru, killing all 13 people on board. The victims included 11 foreign tourists and 2 crew members, according to Peru's Foreign Trade and Tourism Ministry. The aircraft went down near the Nazca lines, one of the country's most popular tourist attractions, known for its ancient geoglyphs carved into the desert floor. Officials have launched an investigation to determine the cause of the crash and identify the victims. Emergency teams responded to the crash site, while officials worked with relevant agencies to provide assistance and gather information. The incident has raised renewed concerns over aviation safety measures for tourist flights operating around major archaeological sites in Peru.
A 10-foot-tall golden trophy mocking US President Donald Trump has drawn attention from visitors in New York, where people have gathered to take photos with the artwork. The installation, created by unknown art collective Secret Handshake, presents a satirical award for Trump's alleged enthusiastic involvement in the Iran war. The artwork has sparked reactions from passers-by, including criticism of US policies and the impact of conflict. An Iranian visitor said the piece reflected the need to challenge political decisions through public expression and satire. The installation is part of a broader tradition of political art using public spaces to comment on global events and government actions. Organizers and artists behind the piece have used the sculpture to provoke discussion and encourage debate among viewers. Palestinian roller skaters and Khan Yunis are using the sport as a way to cope with the impact of conflict and displacement, practicing their moves among the rubble of damaged buildings. The skaters say continuing their training after the war has provided a sense of purpose and a way to showcase local talent despite difficult living conditions. Skater Mohammad Saad Eldin said the group aims to highlight the abilities of young people in Gaza and demonstrate their potential to the wider world. The athletes have continued practicing in areas affected by destruction, turning damaged spaces into temporary training grounds. The skaters say the activity provides an outlet from daily hardships and helps bring a sense of normalcy to their lives. They hope their efforts will draw attention to Gaza's sporting talent and inspire more people to pursue creative and athletic activities despite ongoing challenges.
More than 2 months after arriving at China's space station, the 3 astronauts of the Shenzhou 23 spaceflight mission, Zhu Yangzhu, Zhang Zhiyuan, and Lai Ka-ying, are all in good condition and have made steady progress on multiple space science experiments, including a groundbreaking study on multi-generational rice cultivation in microgravity. Launched on May 24th, the Shenzhou 23 spacecraft carried rice seeds and other experimental materials to the Tiangong space station. After over 2 months of careful cultivation, the crew successfully harvested the first batch of rice samples. The experiment aims to achieve the first ever continuous cultivation of 2 generations of rice in orbit, completing 2 full life cycles from seed to seed to seed, and elucidate the molecular mechanisms by which long-term microgravity affects genetic stability in rice. The astronauts also carried out experiments related to light environment factors, adjusting and intervening in the cabin's lighting conditions, and conducting performance tests before and after modifications to investigate how light environments in special space settings affect human psychological perception and work efficiency. For health management, the crew completed multiple medical examinations, including electrocardiography, vision tests, intraocular pressure measurements, and fundus examinations. The astronauts also actively engaged in physical exercise during space treadmills and other equipment.
A ballroom dance club in Vietnam's Hanoi is providing seniors with a way to stay active, improve their health, and maintain social connections as more elderly people turn to exercise for physical and mental well-being. The club, which has operated for nearly 20 years, brings together more than 30 members who gather regularly to practice dance routines in a local green space. Members say ballroom dancing helps improve memory, maintain flexibility, and create a sense of purpose in their daily lives. A 75-year-old member said learning new movements keeps the mind active and motivates seniors to continue developing new skills. The club has also become a community space where elderly members build friendships and reduce feelings of isolation. Another member said dancing supports both physical fitness and emotional well-being by providing companionship. The club head says the group continues to welcome new members and has expanded connections with other dance clubs across Vietnam through exchange programs and performances. The club's members say the activity reflects a growing trend of seniors seeking healthier and more engaged lifestyles in later years.
More than 600 beer enthusiasts gathered at Vienna's Ottakringer brewery in an attempt to set a world record for the largest number of people pouring beer simultaneously. The event was organized as part of the brewery's annual Summer Beer Festival, which aims to celebrate Austria's brewing heritage while attracting younger visitors through interactive activities. Ottakringer Brewery brand marketing manager Gabby Grossberger said the event highlighted beer's role in bringing people together and creating shared experiences. Participants took part in the coordinated pour as organizers sought recognition for the record attempt. The festival combines traditional brewery culture with modern entertainment to promote Austria's beer industry and encourage wider public participation. Organizers said the event is designed to strengthen community engagement while showcasing the country's long-standing brewing traditions. Hundreds of people have gathered in central Yerevan for a monthly traditional Armenian dance event aimed at promoting the country's cultural heritage and bringing folk traditions closer to the public. Held on the last Friday of every month near a landmark in the city, the event features dancers performing traditional routines and encouraging community participation. Dance teacher Gayan Davtyan said the gatherings help preserve Armenian identity and keep cultural traditions alive among younger generations. She described the event as a way to maintain a strong connection to the country's heritage and national values. Performers said the initiative seeks to spread Armenian culture and move folk dance beyond formal stages by making it accessible to ordinary people. Organizers say the monthly gatherings continue to attract residents and visitors, creating a shared space for cultural expression and community engagement. The event has become a regular cultural attraction in Yerevan, allowing participants of all ages to take part in traditional dances. Organizers say the initiative reflects growing efforts to preserve and promote Armenia's folk traditions through public participation. Cosplayers from around the world have gathered in Nagoya for the 2026 World Cosplay Summit, showcasing elaborate costumes and performances during the annual event. Organizers announced that the summit will move to the autumn season from 2027 due to rising summer temperatures and growing concerns over participants' health and safety. The decision comes as extreme heat conditions became an increasing challenge for outdoor events in Japan. The schedule change aims to provide a safer environment for performers and visitors while ensuring the event can continue attracting international participants. The seasonal shift is expected to help improve conditions for participants while supporting the long-term growth of the global cosplay community. The World Cosplay Summit brings together cosplay enthusiasts from various countries and has become one of Japan's major cultural events, celebrating creativity, entertainment, and global fan communities.
Hello and welcome to Business World. I am Siksha Bhattrai. Here are the top business and economic stories shaping global markets, trade, technology and industry. From global trade tensions to the rapid growth of the digital economy, China's digital economy continues to expand, with core digital industries now contributing more than 10% of the country's GDP. Strong growth in digital consumption and continued investment in advanced technologies are helping drive the country's economic transformation.
China's digital economy continued its robust expansion in 2025, with the added value of the core industries accounting for over 10.5% of the country's gross domestic product GDP, according to a report by the Cyberspace Administration of China. According to classifications by the National Bureau of Statistics, China's digital economy covers 5 broad categories: digital product manufacturing, digital product services, digital technology applications, data factor-driven industries, and industries supported by digital efficiency improvements. Digital consumption by Chinese residents also surged, hitting 25.3 trillion yuan, a year-on-year increase of 8.7%. Data from the National Data Administration (NDA) showed that the added value of China's digital economy as a whole reached 49 trillion yuan in 2025, accounting for about 35% of the GDP. The growth spurt came as China accelerated its transition toward a digitized economic model, partly driven by massive investments in foundational network infrastructure like 5G and Internet Protocol version 6, that is IPv6, the newest version of the Internet Protocol.
Meanwhile, Russia is warning of a more challenging economic outlook. Russia's central bank has lowered its growth forecast for the next year while raising its inflation outlook. Officials say rising fuel prices and persistent inflationary pressures continue to weigh on the country's economic prospects.
Russia's central bank has sharply downgraded its 2026 economic outlook, cutting its GDP growth forecast to 0.0% to 1.0% from 0.5% to 1.5%, while warning that surging fuel prices will keep inflation higher than previously expected. Central Bank Governor Elvira Nabiullina said the regulator now expects inflation to reach 6% to 7% in 2026, up from its earlier forecast of 4.5% to 5.5%, citing a significant increase in fuel prices that has spread across the broader economy. The central bank also warned that elevated inflation expectations among households, businesses, and financial markets could delay a sustained slowdown in price growth. Fuel prices have accelerated since mid-May, with several Russian regions experiencing shortages in June after Ukrainian strikes targeted oil refineries, disrupting domestic fuel supplies.
In South Asia, a major industrial project is moving forward. Bangladesh and China have officially launched construction of a new economic and industrial zone near Chattogram. The project is expected to attract foreign investment, strengthen manufacturing, and create thousands of new jobs.
Bangladesh and China have launched the construction of the China's Economic and Industrial Zone (CEIZ), an 800-acre industrial development near the port city of Chattogram, in a move aimed at boosting foreign investment and creating thousands of jobs. Officials from both countries inaugurated the project, which was first agreed upon more than a decade ago, but faced delays before moving forward. The industrial zone is expected to attract Chinese and other foreign companies, strengthen Bangladesh's manufacturing sector, and support economic growth. The development is part of broader efforts to expand industrial capacity and improve investment opportunities in Bangladesh. Officials say the project can generate significant employment and contribute to trade and industrial development in the region.
Back to China, where investors are closely watching the semiconductor industry. Shares of China's largest memory chip maker surged during their stock market debut, giving the company one of the highest valuations in mainland China. The milestone underscores growing investor confidence in the country's semiconductor sector.
Shares in China's biggest memory chip maker have soared by nearly 470% as they made their debut on the Shanghai Stock Exchange's tech-heavy star market. The surge has pushed Changxin Memory Technologies CXMT stock market valuation to $487 billion, making it the most valuable listed company in mainland China. The spectacular debut comes despite a sharp sell-off in technology stocks around the world this month. CXMT manufactures dynamic random access memory chips that power AI data centers, mobile phones, PCs, tablets, and other devices.
Technology regulation is also making headlines in Europe. The European Union has fined Google €890 million for violating the Bloc's Digital Markets Act. Regulators say the company unfairly favored its own services and restricted competition within its app marketplace.
US President Donald Trump criticized the European Union over its decision to fine Alphabet's Google, calling the penalty illegal and accusing the bloc of targeting American companies. Trump said the United States would immediately launch a Section 301 investigation under the Trade Act of 1974 into what he described as the EU's robbing of US businesses. President Trump's remarks came a day after the European Commission fined Google a total of $1 billion for violating EU rules designed to curb the market power of major technology firms. Trump warned that the European Union would face a very big price for what he called its illegal and highly unethical conduct.
Staying with the technology, Asia-Pacific economies are looking forward to the future of artificial intelligence. APEC member economies have pledged stronger cooperation on digital transformation and artificial intelligence. Ministers say closer collaboration will help boost innovation, trade and inclusive economic growth across the region. Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC economies, have pledged to strengthen collaboration on digital transformation and artificial intelligence as the region seeks to accelerate technology-driven growth. The commitment came at the 2026 APEC Digital and AI Ministerial Meeting in Chengdu of China, where ministers adopted the Chengdu Declaration, calling for digital and AI technologies to be developed and used to benefit economies and communities across the Asia-Pacific region. APEC officials said technology has become central to trade, productivity, innovation, and economic development, with artificial intelligence expected to reshape industries and the future of work. The meeting also highlighted the need for government policies that ensure businesses and workers can benefit from the AI economy, including investment in skills, innovation, and digital access. APEC members said continued cooperation will be essential to ensure emerging technologies support inclusive growth and create new opportunities across the region. Turning now to the Middle East, Palestinian financial authorities are warning that plans to suspend key banking links with Israeli banks could disrupt trade, commerce, and everyday financial transactions, posing fresh risk to an already fragile economy. Palestinian banking authorities are warning of a potential economic crisis after Israeli banks informed their Palestinian counterparts that they plan to end critical banking services within weeks. Palestinian Monetary Authority Governor Yahya Shunar said the move is not merely a banking issue, but a threat to the financial infrastructure supporting trade, commerce, and daily economic activity for millions of people. The banking links between Israeli and Palestinian financial institutions are essential for processing payments, facilitating trade, and maintaining economic transactions. Authorities warn that any disruption could affect businesses, workers, and financial stability across the Palestinian territories. Officials are urging international and regional stakeholders to help maintain the banking channels and prevent further pressure on an already fragile economy. Meanwhile, European regulators are stepping up online safety enforcement. TikTok is facing fresh charges from the European Commission over alleged violation of the Digital Services Act. Regulators say aspects of the platform's design may expose children to cyberbullying and other online risks. ByteDance social media platform TikTok has been charged with breaching EU online content rules due to design features which could expose children to predators or cyberbullying, EU regulators said on Friday, putting the company at risk of a hefty fine. The charges, called preliminary findings under the Digital Services Act, which requires big tech to do more to tackle illegal and harmful content, are the fourth allegation against TikTok in 2 years. The European Commission, which serves as the EU tech enforcer, said TikTok accounts fall short of DSA safety standards. It said the social media platform allowed children to make their account public, enabling others to see the content and potentially exposing them to cyberbullying or contact from abusers. The global media industry is also facing a major legal hurdle. The proposed merger between Paramount Skydance and Warner Bros. Discovery has been put on hold until 2027 as U.S. courts review legal challenges.
Paramount, Skydance, and Warner Bros. Discovery have agreed to pause their $110 billion merger until June 2027, while a judge weighs upon a legal challenge against the tie-up. The pause follows lawsuits from 12 U.S. states and the Writers Guild of America, who argue the deal would harm competition and lead to higher prices for the consumers. The decision comes just days after European regulators approved the deal, on the condition Paramount would end a major film distribution partnership with Universal Pictures in the region. With the deal on hold in the US, emergency court hearings have now been cancelled. Despite the court freeze, Paramount and Warner Bros. Insist that combining their operations is essential to compete with digital streaming giants and tech conglomerates.
Artificial intelligence infrastructure continues to attract massive investment. NVIDIA and South Korea's SK Group have unveiled a major AI initiative centered on next-generation data centers and advanced memory technology, highlighting continued investment in AI infrastructure.
NVIDIA and South Korea's SK Group have unveiled an AI initiative worth more than $500 billion focused on expanding large-scale AI data centers and advancing next-generation memory technology, according to NVIDIA. The initiative includes a long-term partnership with SK hynix to secure next-generation memory supply for NVIDIA and jointly develop high-bandwidth memory for AI training, AI agents, and physical AI applications. As part of the plan, SK Telecom reportedly will build a 2-gigawatt AI data center powered by NVIDIA's Vera Rubin chips and SK hynix HBM4 memory, with the first facility expected to begin operations in 2027.
China is also expanding the real-world use of artificial intelligence. Chinese robotics companies are accelerating the deployment of AI-powered industrial and emergency response robots. Developers expect growing demand as production expands across multiple industries.
China's embodied AI push is creating new business opportunities, with Nanjing expanding real-world robot applications. A local robotics company is lowering production costs and scaling up manufacturing to meet growing demand. In a recent firefighting drill, an AI-powered duty robot and an explosion-proof robotic dog detected hazards, analyzed risk, and transmitted real-time data, enabling emergency systems to respond in just 1 minute. Developed by a Nanjing-based robotics company, the robotic dog uses more than 600 components, most sourced locally in Jiangsu province. The company is now developing a next-generation firefighting robot and plans to deploy more than 100,000 units nationwide between 2026 and 2028. It expects annual revenue to reach about $44 million as demand for AI-powered industrial robots continues to grow.
Turning to the housing market in South Korea now. Housing costs in Seoul continue to climb as apartment prices, rental deposits, and monthly rents rise. Seoul's housing market is facing growing pressure as apartment prices, Junse deposits, and monthly rents continue to rise, making it increasingly difficult for residents to secure homes. The deposit-based Junse rental system, a common housing arrangement in South Korea where tenants pay a large upfront sum instead of monthly rent, has seen sharp increases. In Seoul, Junse deposits for some apartments have surpassed 1.1 billion Korean won, or about $745,000, rising significantly compared with earlier this year. Rising housing costs have pushed some renters to consider buying homes instead, as the gap between purchase prices and Junse deposits narrows. With apartment prices in Seoul already rising more than 6% this year, concerns are growing over affordability and the impact on households across South Korea. In Europe, governments are responding to the economic impact of extreme weather. French insurers have agreed to cover temporary accommodation costs for thousands of residents displaced by wildfires. The support package is aimed at easing the financial burden as emergency crews battle the blaze.
French insurers will cover temporary accommodation costs for people displaced by wildfires in the Gironde, Lens and Var regions, Economy Minister Roland Lescure said. The support package agreed with insurance industry group France Assurers will provide coverage for up to 3 weeks for evacuated residents, whether or not their homes have suffered damages. The measure comes as around 220,000 people have been forced to evacuate since Wednesday due to wildfires spreading across areas near Arcasson Bay, a major tourist destination. The French government says the initiative aims to provide financial relief to affected residents while emergency services continue firefighting operations.
And that's all for this edition of Business World. For continuing coverage of global business, markets, technology and the economy, stay with us. Thank you for watching.
The number of devotees collectively chanting, admiring and understanding these holy chants has reached 2 billion all across the world now. This implies that the population following Buddhism is increasing by the day. Buddhism rests upon the principle that one must be empathetic, kind, and exonerate towards all living beings. Love, brotherhood, and mutual harmony is the only way towards peace at present, when the whole world is entangled within warfare, fighting, and conflicts. Anyone seeking for peace can find it within themselves on internalizing the words and messages of Gautama Buddha. Gautama Buddha, also known as the Light of Asia, established himself as the preacher of Buddhism and enlightened the whole world with his message of peace, awareness, kindness, and wisdom. Buddha sacrificed his whole life urging for the need of truth, justice, and altruistic feeling within mankind. Gautama Buddha was born in Lumbini. It lies in the western part of Nepal in Rupandehi districts of the Lumbini zone. Lumbini has been protected under the World Cultural Heritage Site since 1997 AD. In the year 1896, the then senior officer of Palpa, Kharga Shamsher, and German expert Dr. A. Fuharer jointly carried out the work of archaeological excavation and investigation of Lumbini. After some period, archaeologists located the commemorative Ashok pillar erected by King Ashok of India during ancient period. With such facts coming in front, Lumbini caught attention of the people all around the world. Among the most significant heritages of Lumbini are Ashok Pillar and Mayadevi Temple. It is believed that Mayadevi gave birth to Siddhartha Gautam in 623 BC at the very spot where the temple is located at present. The then Mayadevi temple, however, remains only in the pictures and in imaginations. Renovation and repair works have already changed the original structure of the temple. Nevertheless, with the new structure, this temple has embraced a divine outlook in it. Not only the temple, but the whole Lumbini region is in the process of plan reconstruction and development. The visit of the then General Secretary of the United Nations Organization, U Thant, in the year 1967 brought together the notion of Lumbini Area Development Project. Under a master plan of the Japanese archaeologist Professor Kenzo Tange, the project was initiated in the year 1978. Lumbini Area Development Project Master Plan spreads in the area of 3 miles. Major attraction of this project is the Mayadevi temple premises. This holy garden has emerged as a peaceful, religious and spiritual hub as well as the center for tourists. This garden, located in the southern part of the temple, has assimilated a number of objects of archaeological and historical importance. The whole area appears magnificent, with a calm lake and beautiful parks. The temple displays numerous artifacts built in different centuries. These works shed light upon the historical importance of the temple. It is assumed that works of repair and renovation were carried out time and again since the reign of the Maurya dynasty till 8th century BC. The outer wall of the temple spreads 26 meters in the east-west and 21 meters in the north-south direction. During its excavation, 5 rooms in the east-west and 3 rooms in north-south direction were discovered. 3 of these rooms are square and the remaining 5 are rectangular in shape. There is an ancient Mayadevi idol showing the birth of Lord Buddha inside the temple. This idol is also known as the birth idol. The remains inside the temple date back from 5th century BC to the 7th century BC. Marker stone, alias birth stone, is placed safe above a Maurya period brick inside a deep room. This clearly depicts the exact place where Lord Buddha was delivered. This stone is around 25 steps north of the Holy Lake. Other evidential objects uncovered from excavations are kept as it is for devotees and other tourists to explore and to study. Ashoka pillar near to Mayadevi temple is believed to have been erected by King Ashoka in 249 BC during the 21st year of his enthronement. The Utkirna stone inscription engraved in this pillar in Brahmi script is a historical proof that Lord Gautama Buddha was born here. This is the most reliable historical and archaeological archive to learn about the birthplace of Lord Buddha as well as to explore Lumbini itself. A 5-stanza writing of 90 words written in Brahmi script, the first script that Buddha learned, is engraved in this pillar. Archaeologist Dr. A. Fuhara verified the writing in 1896 AD. This script attests huge and significant information about Lumbini. In the northern side of the Ashoka pillar lies Puskarini, or the holy pond. Legends say Maya Devi took the holy dip prior to the birth of Lord Buddha in this pond, and that baby Buddha too had his first bath. Architectural fragments of different size and shape collected from various excavations are protected in the southeast, northeast and western direction of the Maya Devi temple. On close examination of the temple, the tradition and technology of Maurya dynasty is revealed. Some monasteries are constructed using the remains of Lord Buddha, while some other incorporates the remains of his followers, and few others have been constructed in Buddha's reminiscence. These monasteries depict the then art, custom, religion and tradition. In the northern side of the holy garden, towards the center, lies the eternal peace flame, the peace bell and a 3-kilometer long and 16-meter wide canal. One can also view the World Peace Pagoda from here. The canal divides the whole area into 2 sections. Towards the eastern monasteries, 13 plots are designated to Thur Buddhist and 29 plots are allocated to Mahayani Buddhist in the western monasteries. In eastern region, various countries and Thur Buddhist organizations have constructed a number of monasteries following their native architectural texture. Myanmar, Sri Lankan, Indian, Cambodian and Thai government, including Nepalese, have constructed stupas and guest houses in these areas following the agreement with Lumbini Development Trust. Similarly, most of the western plots have been occupied with similar stupas, monasteries, guest houses and meditation centers constructed by various organizations or Government of Nepal, China, Vietnam, France, Japan, Austria, Bhutan and Mongolia, among other nations. In these monasteries, Buddhists perform their regular worship, enchantments and meditations according to their own customs. In the northern side of the new Lumbini village area is the 41.5 meter long and 49 meter cylindrical World Peace Pagoda. Fujiguru of Japan is said to have constructed similar pagodas in different locations all over the world during his journey of finding peace. World Peace Pagoda was designed by Japanese architect Dr. Minoru Ohuka. This pagoda came into operation since 1995. Built in traditional Japanese design, the upper part of this pagoda holds metallic artifacts exhibiting the birth of Lord Buddha. Lumbini Museum and Lumbini International Research Center are other important places to visit once one reaches Lumbini. These buildings, constructed in pagoda style, portray an architectural masterpiece in themselves. Inside Lumbini Museum, the archaeological remains found during the excavation of Lumbini area are preserved inside a large hall. One can easily gather information about the birthplace of Lord Buddha and the then contemporary society and culture exploring these heritages. Within the building, designed by Professor Kenzi Tange himself, Lumbini International Research Center has been established. More than 3,500 research materials and texts on Buddha, Buddhism, history, philosophy, knowledge and teachings of Buddha can be found here. For the visitors' comfort, the center has provided the facility to read texts on different languages, including Sanskrit, Chinese, Japanese, Turkmen, Burmese, Thai, Nepali, and Nepal languages. There is an easy access of air as well as terrestrial transportation to reach Lumbini. The nearest airport to Lumbini is the Gautama Buddha Airport located in Bhairahava. One can also take roadways from different cities of Nepal to reach Lumbini easily. Situated in northwestern side of Kathmandu, Lumbini is 327 kilometers far from the capital. From the Indian border Sunauli, it lies in the distance of a mere 26 kilometers. Visitors can find ample bus, cabs, rickshaws and other transportation means to explore the whole area of Lumbini. Accommodation in Lumbini is again not a big deal. There are a number of hotels, lodges and restaurants ranging from expensive ones to medium and cheap motels in the market area. Within Lumbini area also, one can easily find guest houses, monasteries and stupas constructed to accommodate the visitors. The overall development works of Lumbini is spearheading on the basis of Lumbini Development Master Plan. Lumbini Development Fund is effortful to accomplish Lumbini Development Master Plan and to protect and preserve the overall Lumbini area. If you are planning to travel the birthplace of Lord Gautama Buddha, the holy Lumbini, we cordially invite you to explore all these spots of historical and archaeological importance, all related to Lord Buddha. You can travel around to see the ancient palace of King Suddhodana, father of Lord Buddha in Kapilvastu, and the debris of the earliest capital of Shakya kings, Tilaurakot, still preserved with high importance. This palace is located around 27 kilometers far from Lumbini. Lord Buddha, as the prince, spent 29 years of his life in this palace. Prince Siddhartha Gautama abandoned the royal livelihood in search of Mahanirvana, or enlightenment. In the year 1898 AD, Indian archaeologist P.C. Mukherjee, following the description of Chinese traveler Hu Yansanga, and unveiled the unknown facts about Tilaurakot after his 4 months-long research and excavation works. He mentioned that the Tilaurakot Palace stretched in the area of 1,700 feet north-south and 1,300 feet east-west direction, was surrounded by walls up to 8 to 12 feet. The main entrance gate had Buddha stupas and monasteries in both the sides. All these buildings are under excavation and protection at present. Mukherjee has also maintained that King Suddhodana ruled his kingdom from the same palace. Hence, no doubt remains on the fact that the present Tilaurakot was ancient Kapilvastu. Archaeological debris as well as ancient palace and east-west entrance constructed since 4th century BC to 2nd century BC can be observed vividly now as well. Another historical site of Lumbini is Kudan, also known as Lauri Kudan, around 28 kilometers southwest of Lumbini. Myths have it that Lord Gautama Buddha met his father King Suddhodana at this very spot for the first time on returning to his hometown Kapilvastu after attaining enlightenment. Others say Prajapati Gautami, Gautam Buddha's foster mother, handed him Kayas Vastra at this place. Some others also claim that at this very site, Gautama Buddha's son Rahul transformed into Buddhism and turned a saint. Inscription held the existence of 4 walls and 1 buried well at this place. However, only 3 walls can be seen at present. According to Dewala Mitra, on the southern side of this lies 1 rectangular wall, and another wall has a snake temple on the top of it. In the largest wall, located at northeast direction, idol of Lord Shiva and the remains of other idols can be seen at the top. "500 meters north of King Suddhodana's palace lay 2 stupas. Experts say these stupas are the graves of King Suddhodana and his queen Maya Devi. The largest stupa has the area of 52 feet and is 75 feet high, whereas the smaller one has the area of 26 feet. The largest stupa is said to be constructed in the 4th century BC and was reconstructed 3 times during the 2nd and the 1st century BC. Similarly, the smaller stupa is believed to have been constructed in between the 2nd and the 1st century BC. Devadaha, that lies in Bhawanipur of Rupandehi, is said to be the maternal home of Siddhartha Gautama. Inscriptions say that Siddhartha Gautam spent 7 years of his childhood in Devadaha. Also, it is believed that he, upon attaining enlightenment, paid a visit to Devadaha. Devadaha is also popularly regarded as the maternal home of Queen Maya Devi, Queen Prajapati, and Princess Yasodhara. 10 idols are established in a single row in the eastern wall. However, the structure of all other idols besides one of the sun god in the center is unclear. This place, serving as an open museum, still needs a rigorous research and study to explore more about Kolia Kingdom. Ramgram Monastery has been constructed in the sidelines of Jharahi River towards 4 kilometers southeast of Parasi of Nawalparasi district. 7 meters in height, this monastery was constructed, establishing 1 metallic remains of Lord Buddha in its base. This monastery is one among the 8 monasteries constructed worldwide with the metallic remains in their base. This monastery was constructed upon the order of the king of Ramgram. He was the 8th king to receive the remains of Lord Buddha. Buddhist religious texts say that King Ashoka was in his mission of collecting remains of Lord Buddha from all 8 monasteries to construct the 84,000 stupas. But he was not allowed to extort the remains of Lord Buddha from Ramgram Monastery. Around 9 kilometers north from Tilaurakot lies a pond named Sagarwa or Lambu Sagar. The pond has high significance with regard to its archaeological value. This pond is popularly recognized as the spot where Koshal rural king Naresh Birudhak killed the thousands of Shakyas at the same time during the 5th century BC. Inscriptions have it that this pond extends 1,059 feet towards the length and 225 feet towards the breadth and was discovered in 1895 AD. However, only few remains and a mark of the pond can be traced here at present. Gotihawa is renowned as the birthplace of Manushi Krakuchandra Buddha. It is also said that Krakuchandra Buddha met his father at the very place after attaining nirvana. Debris of Ashoka pillar, ancient well, bricks and other remains can be retrieved in the buried form from here. Major Wada and P.C. Mukherjee excavated Gotihawa in 1895 AD and mentioned that Krakuchandra Buddha was born here. Araurakot is an ancient town situated 8 kilometers northeast of Taulihawa. Araurakot is regarded as the location of Kanak Muni Buddha, but scientific research is necessary to trace further facts of this town. Meanwhile, manuscripts have it that Niglihawa, 7 kilometers far in the northern side of Taulihawa, is the birthplace of Kanak Muni Buddha. It is the same place where he got enlightenment. They also say that archaeologist Dr. Fuhara discovered inscriptions in ancient stupas at this very place. In the western side of Nigli Sagar, one of the Ashoka pillars can be seen in 2 pieces. In an inscription written in Brahmi script, Pali language, it is mentioned that King Ashoka erected this pillar when he reached Kapilvastu. When he reached Kapilvastu Lumbini during the 3rd century BC.
Home Minister meets Madhesh Chief Minister. Hindu Samrat Sena withdraws protest after talks. Gas shortage concerns rise in Nepal despite supply claims. Oil Corporation blames consumer stockpiling. Nepal government pushes 166 bill legislative plan. Mining law reform bill seeks clear federal roles. Nepal mourns Broad Peak climbing tragedy. Body of Nirmal Purja recovered after avalanche. US President Trump says US strikes on Iran halted. Tehran faces pressure for rapid deal. And Nepal to host Kava Women's Champions League volleyball tournament. Volleyball Association marks Golden Jubilee year. Good evening, I'm Bishata Bhandari and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Hindu Samrat Sena Nepal has suspended all protest programs, including a planned nationwide shutdown, after reaching a verbal understanding with the government over its demands. The agreement was reached during talks in Janakpur Dham on Sunday between a government delegation led by Home Minister Sudan Gurung and representatives of the organization. The group said it submitted a revised proposal adding 6 points to its earlier 13-point charter of demands, while the government responded positively and agreed to form a committee to advance the process. Following the government's commitment to address the demands, Hindu Samrat Sena Nepal announced the withdrawal of all protest activities, including the planned Bandh or general strike. Earlier in the day, Nepal's Home Minister Sudan Gurung held talks with Madhesh Province Chief Minister Krishna Prasad Yadav in Janakpur Dham on Sunday over the security situation and recent developments in the province. The meeting at the Chief Minister's official residence focused on the aftermath of the recent Sunsari incident and measures to maintain law and order across Madhesh. Home Minister Gurung briefed Chief Minister Yadav on his visits to various districts, while Yadav shared updates on the provincial situation and government efforts to ease tensions. Authorities continue to monitor security conditions in parts of southeastern Nepal following the recent unrest. Nepal Oil Corporation NOC says there is no shortage of cooking gas supply in the market, despite long queues and complaints from consumers struggling to find cylinders. The corporation claims it has been supplying around 10% more gas than the country's monthly demand, but excessive stockpiling by some consumers has created an artificial shortage. Gas industries have started distributing cylinders from the corporation's Teku office in Kathmandu after consumers reported difficulties obtaining gas from regular dealers. Authorities have urged households not to store multiple cylinders at once and said efforts are underway to normalize distribution across the country. We will bring a detailed report on this in our segment Issue of the Day later in the bulletin. The Nepal government has accelerated its legislative drive by registering 9 bills in Parliament in a single day as part of a plan to introduce 166 new laws in the current fiscal year. The move aims to align existing legislation with the Constitution and address challenges emerging from Nepal's federal governance system nearly a decade after its implementation. A key proposal, the Mines and Minerals Amendment Bill, seeks to define the powers and responsibilities of federal, provincial and local governments in the mining sector. Other bills concerning passports, human trafficking, child labour, constitutional office bearers and domestic aviation are also under parliamentary consideration. We will see more on this in our segment Cover Story of the Day later in the bulletin. Nepal's government has expressed deep sorrow over the deaths of climbers, including renowned mountaineer Nirmal Purja, in an avalanche on Pakistan's Broad Peak. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the tragedy involving Nepali climbers and members of an international expedition team is a major loss to the global mountaineering community. Pakistani authorities and Nepali rescue teams have continued search and recovery operations in the challenging high-altitude region, with officials praising their efforts. Nepal's embassy in Islamabad is coordinating with Pakistani authorities to facilitate the return of recovered bodies to Nepal. The body of renowned mountaineer Nirmal Purja, known as Nimstai, has been recovered from Pakistan's Broad Peak following a deadly avalanche that killed 10 climbers. Pakistan Alpine Club said Purja's body was found at an altitude of around 5,700 meters, with 8 bodies recovered so far and search efforts continuing for the remaining victims. The recovered climbers, including Purja, Pur Bahadur Gurung, Gyalu Sherpa, Kili Pimba Sherpa, Nima Sherpa, Wang Zong, Mallory Gais, and Nadhira Ahmed Abdullah Al Harthi. Purja, who led the multinational expedition, gained global recognition in 2019 after climbing all 14 mountains over 8,000 meters in a record 189 days and was later featured in the Netflix documentary 14 Peaks, Nothing is Impossible. U.S. President Donald Trump says he has halted planned strikes on Iran, saying military action could be avoided if a deal is reached quickly. In a post on Truth Social, Trump claimed Iran and other Middle Eastern countries had asked him to delay any attack after the framework of an agreement was discussed. The remarks came amid reports that the United States and Israel were considering further strikes against Iran, though Tehran has not confirmed any new talks or agreement. Iran's acting defense minister Majid Ibn al-Reza said the country continues to view threats from its adversaries as serious and credible. Nepal is set to host the Kava Women's Champions League volleyball tournament from October 31st to November 6th, following approval from the Nepal Volleyball Association. The decision was taken during the association's 14th plenary meeting, which also endorsed its annual program and financial reports for the new fiscal year. Association President Jitendra Bahadur Chand said the year will be marked as the Golden Jubilee, celebrating 50 years since the establishment of the Nepal Volleyball Association. The meeting also decided to form a task force to improve transparency in the club membership system and ensure new club meet required procedures. Coming up next, time and again consumers in Nepal face difficulties in obtaining cooking gas cylinders. We take a look at if the shortage stems from actual supply problem or if it is a problem stemming from consumers storing more than their fair share of cylinders in our Issue of the Day segment after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And now on to our Issue of the Day segment. Despite regular imports and claims of sufficient supply, consumers across parts of Nepal are facing difficulties in getting cooking gas cylinders. Nepal Oil Corporation says the shortage is not due to a supply gap, but because some consumers are storing more cylinders than required, creating pressure on the distribution system. Aprila Khising Lama, along with Pawan Barshasha, brings more.
Long queues for cooking gas have once again become a common sight in parts of Nepal, with consumers struggling to find cylinders at local dealers and gas depots. Consumers say the problem is not a complete lack of supply, but unequal distribution after full cylinder sales resumed. They allege that some households with greater purchasing capacity have been storing multiple cylinders at once, leaving students, low-income families, and other consumers struggling to access gas. With complaints increasing, some gas industries have started distributing cylinders directly from Nepal Oil Corporation's Teku premises since Saturday following a request from the corporation. Consumers say they have been compelled to come to the industrial distribution point after failing to get cylinders from regular shops and dealers. The corporation, however, says there is no shortage of cooking gas in the country. The state-owned fuel supplier claims it has been importing and distributing more gas than the actual market demand. According to the corporation, around 52,000 metric tons of cooking gas have been supplied monthly as of July. The corporation says the monthly demand in Nepal stands between 42 and 45,000 metric tons, meaning current supply is about 10% higher than demand. It is also stated that during the period when half cylinders were being distributed, monthly consumption dropped to around 32,000 metric tons, which was below the estimated market requirement.
जुन हामीले ग्यास बजारमा पठाएर आइरहेछ यहाँले तथ्याङ्क हेर्न सक्नुहुन्छ विगतको भन्दा बढी नै आएको छ यहाँलाई जानकारी गरौँ यो साउनको महिनामा साउनको 1 गतेबाट देखि 15 गतेको बीचमा चाहिँ करिब 26,000 मेट्रिक टन ग्यास भित्रिसकेको अवस्था छ र हाम्रो इन्डियामा पनि जुन विभिन्न रिफाइनरीबाट आउँछ त्यहाँ पनि दैनिक 100+ बुलेट हाम्रो लोड भइरहेको अवस्था छ भनेपछि यसमा चाहिँ उपभोक्ता आतिनुपर्ने जरुरी छैन यसरी जो चाहिँ अलिकति हुने खाने वर्ग छन् जससँग चाहिँ 2-3 सिलिन्डर छ उहाँहरूले चाहिँ जुन खाली सिलिन्डर बजारमा क्यू लगाइदिनु भएको छ त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ जो तत्काल जसलाई चाहिएको छ विद्यार्थी वर्ग निम्न वर्ग जसले चाहिँ एउटा मात्रै भनौं न भाडामा बस्नु भएको छ एउटा मात्रै सिलिन्डर प्रयोग गर्नु भएको छ उहाँलाई चाहिँ त्यो कुराले चाहिँ उहाँहरूलाई असहज भएको छ र तत्काल ग्यास सके बजारमा जानुहुन्छ ग्यास नपाइने अवस्था सिर्जना भएको छ.
Gas traders have also echoed the corporation's position, saying the issue is linked to consumer behavior rather than supply shortages. They have urged households not to purchase or store multiple cylinders at the same time.
म आम उपभोक्तालाई के अनुरोध गर्छु भने ग्यासको अभाव हुँदैन आयातमा कुनै कमी आएको छैन र अनावश्यक तपाईहरुले होल्ड गर्दिँदा जसको चाहिँ भान्सामा एउटा भन्दा सिलिन्डर छैन उहाँहरुलाई मार्ग पर्छ.
Currently, Nepal, HP, Everest, Sugam and Shriram gas brands are being distributed from the Nepal Oil Corporation in Teku. Authorities say efforts are underway to normalize distribution and ensure that cylinders reach consumers through regular channels.
In this context, we asked the public why shortages persist despite regular gas supplies. Let's hear what the people had to say in today's Public Pulse.
सेवा प्रदायकले जुन छ नि उहाँहरुले चाहिँ आफ्नो मान्छे आएको बेला चाहिँ दिने त्यो अरु मान्छे आएको बेला चाहिँ के गरिराछन् भने उनीहरुले जस्तो लुकाएर राख्ने जस्तो स्टोर गर्ने जस्तो कालो बजारीकरण गरिराछन् नि त किनकि अब 2-4 रुपैयाँ हामी बढी दिँदैबित्तिकै उनीहरुले चाहिँ दिन सक्ने तर हामीले चाहिँ 2-4 रुपैयाँ कम अथवा हामीले सरकारको रेट अनुसार दिन खोज्दाखेरि के हुन्छ भने उनीहरुले छैन भन्ने चाहिँ व्यवहार देखाउने.
ग्यास सकेर कता साथीको रुममा खान पर्ने स्थिति छ. आफ्टर स्टुडेन्ट मान्छे अब कहाँ गएर होटलमा खाएर साध्य छैन. अब यहाँ बसिरहेको छु लाइनमा आज 2 घण्टा 3 घण्टा भइसक्यो. सरकारले भन्छ ग्यासको सर्टेजै छैन मार्केटमा ग्यास पाउँदैन यहाँ आएर कुर्न पर्ने स्थिति छ.
अब हामी पनि अहिले यहाँ विद्यार्थी हो हामी है बिहानबाट लाइन लाग्छौं अहिलेको लगभग 1 बज्न लाग्यो अब हामी त बिहान 10 बजेदेखि लाइन लाग्छौं पाइराको छैन. अब मेन भनेको त सरकारको नै हो। अब यस्तो कुरामा त हामी सामान्य मान्छेले गर्ने कुरा हुँदैन।
सरकारले त्यस्तो अब यो जहाँबाट यो वितरण हुन्छ त्यो कुराहरुमा अनुमोदन गरोस् हैन, अनि नागरिकहरूलाई यस्तो यो कष्टकर समयमा ग्यास छिट्टै उपलब्ध गराओस्।
भरि पाउँदाखेरि कोही त्यति लिन नखोज्ने, जब त सर्टेज भयो कि अब सबैलाई चाहिने भाँजती सिलिन्डर सबै निकाल्ने, त्यही भएर पनि होला।
अब यो कम्पनीले अब पसलमै ग्यास नदिएको कारणले अब हामीहरू कहाँबाट घर घरमा पुर्याउने हैन। सायद कम्पनीले आफै व्यापार गर्न थालेको छ कि के गर्न थालेको छ त्यो त हामीले थाहा भएन। तर हामी सप्लायर मान्छे हो, हामी कस्टमरको लागि यहाँ पुग्दैछु, हामी कस्टमरको घर घरमा पुर्याउनको लागि यहाँ लाइनमा बसेर घरमा जसरी तसरी म गरेर घर घरमा पुर्याइरहेको छु।
And that wraps up our issue of the day segment. Coming up next, the government has plans to introduce 166 bills in total during this fiscal year. We take a closer look at one of these bills related to mines and minerals, which seeks to clearly define powers at different levels of the government. In our cover story of the day after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And now on to our cover story segment. The government has begun introducing bills this year aimed at aligning laws with the spirit of the Constitution and the needs of a changing society. On July 29, 2026, it registered 9 bills in Parliament in a single day and plans to introduce a total of 166 bills during the current fiscal year. Among them is a bill to amend the Mines and Minerals Act, with the objective of clearly defining the powers of the federal, provincial and local governments. Sabika Shrestha, along with Saloja Dahal, delves more.
Nearly a decade after the implementation of federalism, the government has for the first time initiated the process of amending mining legislation to clearly delineate the responsibilities of all 3 levels of government in the mining and mineral sector. The bill registered in the House of Representatives to amend the Mines and Minerals Act proposes provisions defining the authority, responsibilities and revenue sharing mechanisms among the federal, provincial and local governments. It outlines separate powers for each level of government regarding the collection of royalties, fees, land lease charges and service charges. Under the proposed provisions, local governments will be responsible for mineral conservation, local monitoring, extraction of designated mineral resources, and collection of local mineral utilization fees. Provincial governments will be granted authority over mineral exploration permits, management of exploration activities, recommendations, and coordination. The federal government, meanwhile, will retain responsibility for national policy formulation, strategic planning, declaration of mining zones, large-scale mining operations, and detailed geological studies and research. This is the first such legislative initiative since Nepal adopted federalism aimed at restructuring the mining and mineral sector in accordance with the federal governance system. On July 29, 7 bills, including the Mines and Minerals Amendment Bill, were registered in the House of Representatives. On the same day, 2 additional bills were also registered in the National Assembly. Declaring the current year as the year of lawmaking, the government has submitted a legislative plan to the Federal Parliament Secretariat proposing 166 bills. However, so far, only 13 bills have been registered, 11 in the House of Representatives and 2 in the National Assembly. Besides the Mines and Minerals Amendment Bill, the House of Representatives has also received bills to amend laws relating to the remuneration, terms of service and benefits of constitutional office bearers, the Employees' Provident Fund, the Passport Act, the Human Trafficking and Transportation Act, the Child Labor Act, and the Mediation Act. Similarly, the National Assembly has registered bills concerning domestic air service liability management and the control of infectious animal diseases. According to the Federal Parliament Secretariat, only 4 bills have so far been passed by the National Assembly. Meanwhile, the long-awaited Civil Service Bill, which the government has identified as one of its priorities, has yet to move forward.
जरुरी सार्वजनिक महत्त्वका प्रस्तावहरू पनि छन्, संकल्प प्रस्तावहरू पनि छन्। त्यसै गर्दा मन्त्रालयगत प्रश्नोत्तर पनि लिखित र मौखिक प्रश्नहरू सम्बन्धित मन्त्रालयबाट प्राप्त हुन आएका छन्। लगायतका कार्यसूचीहरू रहन्छन्। यसको मतलब संसदमा बिजनेसहरू नभएको होइन, बिजनेसहरू हुन्छ। आगामी दिनमा खास गरी विधि निर्माणको कामलाई त विधेयकहरूको म्याचुरिटी सकिसके पछाडि मात्रै अगाडि बढ्ने भन्ने भइ नै हाल्यो। त्यो बिचमा केही प्रस्तावहरू खास गरी जरुरी सार्वजनिक महत्त्वका प्रस्तावहरू अगाडि बढ्न सक्छन्। त्यसपछि विधि निर्माणको काम अगाडि बढ्छ नै।
At present, various bills are under clause-by-clause discussion in the Education, International Relations and Tourism, Finance and State Affairs and Good Governance Committees of Parliament. Sabika Shrestha, NTV World.
And that wraps up our cover story of the day. Now the remaining updates from the National Front. 1 person has died and 20 others have been injured in Nepal in the past 24 hours due to monsoon-related disasters, according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority. The authority said 34 disaster incidents were reported across 25 districts during the period, including 14 snakebite cases, 11 fires, 6 landslides and 3 animal attacks. The incidents caused an estimated loss of 2.7 million Nepali rupees, while 2 roads were blocked and 18 livestock were lost. Since the start of the current disaster season in mid-April, Nepal has recorded more than 4,000 disasters-related incidents nationwide. The authority says those incidents have claimed 196 lives, left 4 people missing, injured more than 1,290 others, and affected over 5,100 families. Cancer survivors and patients in Nepal took part in an awareness event in Lalitpur, showcasing their talents through dance, music, and a ramp walk. Around 100 participants aged between 3 and 85 joined the 4th Sudipta Cancer Survivor Program, organized by the Nepal Cancer Support Group and Helping Hands for Treatment. Held under the slogan, "Let Cancer Shine, Not Hide," the event aimed to reduce stigma and challenge misconceptions surrounding cancer. Organizers highlighted that early detection and timely treatment can make cancer manageable and encouraged patients to live with confidence while promoting survivor empowerment. Snakebite treatment has been disrupted in Nepal's Dang district after several health facilities ran out of anti-snake venom stocks. Rapti Academy of Health Sciences, Lamahi Hospital and the Snakebite Treatment Center in Gorawa have exhausted their supplies, while Rapti Provincial Hospital in Tulsipur is facing critically low stocks. Health officials say the shortage has made treatment difficult for snakebite patients, with emergency requests being sent to other facilities for support. Authorities have said efforts are underway to address the shortage as hospitals report inadequate supplies despite repeated requests to the provincial authorities. Construction of the postal highway linking Siraha and Sarlahi districts in Nepal's Madhya province has entered its final phase, with more than 90% of the road already blacktopped. The highway is considered a key infrastructure project for the economic development of the province, connecting communities across Nepal's southern plains. According to the Postal Highway Directorate, 24 bridges have been completed and several others are nearing completion, while 347.6 kilometers of the 406.4 kilometer stretch have already been paved. Once fully finished, Nepal's east-west postal highway will extend approximately 1,792 kilometers across the country's southern belt. A historic hilltop village in central Nepal is at risk of losing its cultural identity as migration to cities empties rural communities. Kolmakot in Siangja district offers panoramic Himalayan views and centuries of local history. However, residents say without greater investment and promotion, its heritage could gradually disappear. April Lama, along with our correspondent Himal Nupani, reports.
Perched about 1,450 meters above sea level, Kolmakot overlooks parts of central Nepal and the northern Himalayan range. Despite its scenic landscape and cultural significance, the village has received little attention as a tourist destination. Local historians say Kolmakot's name comes from a traditional stone oil press once used to extract mustard oil, reflecting the area's long agricultural history.
तेल झारेर यहाँ चाहिँ कोल बनाएर यो ठाउँको नाम कोलमा राखेका रे हेर्नुस् अब यति भएर हामीले यसलाई संरक्षण गरेर राखौं भनेर यतिको बनाएर राखिएछ.
Residents say the village has long been home to Gurung and Dalit communities and continues to preserve elements of its traditional culture. To support the local economy, villagers have opened homestays for visitors. But many younger residents have moved to cities in search of education, jobs, and better opportunities, leaving the community increasingly deserted. Locals now fear that if the trend continues, Kolmakot's history and cultural identity could fade along with its shrinking population. In response, residents have begun working to preserve the village's heritage and promote it as a tourism destination.
कोलमावर भन्दा भन्दा कोलमा हुँदा हुँदा पछि कोलमा रहेको भन्ने चाहिँ एउटा बनाइहरु चाहिँ पाइयो र लामो समयसम्म पनि त्यो ढुङ्गा सुरक्षित भएको कारणले अहिले हामी अलिकति बुझ्नी अलिकति पछि गाउँको लागि एउटा पर्यटकीय पहिचान पनि हुन्छ भन्ने सोचले सम्बन्धित गाविसहरुमा पनि यो कोल संरक्षणको लागि.
Residents say better infrastructure and stronger promotion of lesser-known heritage sites could attract more visitors, create new sources of income, and help keep rural communities alive for future generations.
Before we check more updates, let's have a reminder of our top stories. Home Minister meets Madhesh Chief Minister. Hindu Samrat Sena withdraws protest after talks. Gas shortage concerns rise in Nepal despite supply claims. Oil Corporation blames consumer stockpiling. Nepal government pushes 166 bill legislative plan. Mining law reform bill seeks clear federal roles. Nepal mourns Broad Peak climbing tragedy. Body of Nirmal Purja recovered after the avalanche. US President Trump says US strikes on Iran halted. Tehran faces pressure for rapid deal. And Nepal to host Kava Women's Champions League volleyball tournament. Volleyball Association marks Golden Jubilee year. A search and rescue operation is underway in Greece after 2 firefighting helicopters crashed while battling wildfires west of Athens on Sunday. The incident occurred as the country continues to face severe wildfire conditions amid a series of heat waves across several parts of Europe. Greek authorities have launched efforts to determine the condition of those involved and investigate the cause of the crash. Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis warned that Greece is facing extreme weather conditions, with more challenging days expected as firefighters continue efforts to contain the blazes. At least 3 people have been killed and 21 injured after a homemade explosive device was detonated at an Italian restaurant in Moscow, according to Russian state media quoting security officials. The National Anti-Terrorist Committee said a woman carrying the explosives tried to enter the restaurant but was stopped by a security guard. Authorities have not said who they believe was the target, but many Moscovites will suspect a link to the war in Ukraine. In recent years, several senior Russian military figures have been assassinated in and around the Russian capital. Moscow has blamed Kyiv for those attacks. 5 people have been found dead and 41 are missing after an Indonesian ferry carrying 271 people caught fire while at sea, according to the officials. According to Indonesia's National Search and Rescue Agency, Basarnas, the ship caught fire while sailing off Madura Island. The vessel was on its way from Surabaya in East Java to Makassar in South Sulawesi. Footage played by local Indonesian news outlet iNews shows large numbers of people in life jackets on what appears to be a lifeboat. Other clips show people climbing down from the ferry that has flames and plumes of smoke coming from the top of the vessel. Sri Lanka deployed hundreds of troops and elite commandos to control unrest at an overcrowded prison near Colombo after a riot left 1 inmate dead and 6 others injured. The prison was holding around 4,100 inmates, nearly 4 times its official capacity, highlighting ongoing overcrowding issues in the country's correctional system. Mahara prison had also witnessed a deadly riot in 2020 when 11 inmates were killed and nearly 120 others were injured. South Korea recorded its highest temperature on record on Sunday as an extreme heat wave pushed temperatures above 42 degrees Celsius in parts of the country. The Korea Met Administration said the southeastern city of Yongsan reached 42.5 degrees Celsius, marking the highest reading since national weather records began more than a century ago. Authorities issued emergency heatwave alerts in more than 20 areas and urged people to immediately avoid outdoor activities in the affected regions. Weather data shows South Korea's average annual number of heatwave days has more than doubled in recent years, reflecting a growing trend of extreme temperatures. Business news lined up next. For now, a short breather.
The Maldives Preferential Trade Agreement with Turkey has come into force, opening duty-free access for Maldivian fish products to a market of more than 85 million consumers. The agreement eliminates tariffs on 75 listed items, reducing trade barriers and improving market access for Maldivian exporters while lowering the cost of selected Turkish imports. Economic Development Minister Mohammed Saeed said the deal is expected to strengthen the fisheries sector and expand bilateral trade. Negotiations began in late 2023, with both countries completing legal procedures before the agreement took effect on 1st of August 2026. The government also views the PTA as a strategic gateway for expanding Maldivian exports into wider regional and European markets. Artificial intelligence's rapid expansion is driving up demand for key consumer electronics components, creating supply shortages across global markets. The resulting increase in component prices is already feeding through to higher retail costs for products such as laptops and smartphones. It has been warned that automakers could be the next sector to face rising costs as competition for advanced chips intensifies. The price pressures have become an unintended consequence of the global AI investment boom, affecting manufacturers and consumers alike. The supply squeeze is expected to continue in the coming months, keeping upward pressure on electronics prices and potentially disrupting production across multiple industries. Beijing's dual airport hubs, Beijing Capital International Airport and Beijing Daxing International Airport, handle around $60.87 billion in foreign trade in the first half of 2026, marking an 18.7% year-on-year increase according to Beijing Customs. In the same period, the two airports recorded 63,000 inbound and outbound flights, reflecting a steady recovery in cross-border air transport capacity. High value-added commodities emerged as the core driver of the air cargo expansion. Robust import and export demand across sectors including biomedicine, integrated circuits, and precision equipment underpinned the robust growth of air freight throughput at the two airports. Vietnam's game developers are shifting from high-download mobile titles to original intellectual property (IP) as they seek sustainable revenue growth in an increasingly competitive global gaming market. While the country ranks second worldwide with an estimated 4.9 billion mobile game downloads in 2025, industry leaders say reliance on hyper-casual games has limited long-term earnings. Studios are increasingly drawing on Vietnamese history, folklore, and culture to create distinctive games with global appeal while expanding into gaming ecosystems that generate income through esports, sponsorships, and merchandise. The strategy comes as Vietnam aims to build a $1 billion gaming industry by 2030 by strengthening its presence in international markets.
Time now for sports update. The women's Tour de France got underway from Lausanne, Switzerland, with large crowds lining the route as riders began the latest stage of the race. Organizers say this year's edition is expected to deliver one of the most competitive contests yet, with a challenging route likely to test the sport's top contenders. Race director Marion Roos said she expects a closely fought competition, highlighting the strength and consistency of this year's leading riders. The race will continue across demanding mountain and sprint stages before concluding in France later this week. Now on to weather updates, first from Nepal and then from across the world. Before wrapping up, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Home Minister meets Madhesh Chief Minister. Hindu Samrat Sena withdraws protest after talks. Gas shortage concerns rise in Nepal despite supply claims. Oil Corporation blames consumer stockpiling. Nepal government pushes 166 bill legislative plan. Mining law reform bill seeks clear federal roles. Nepal mourns Broad Peak climbing tragedy. Body of Nirmal Purja recovered after the avalanche. US President Trump says US strikes on Iran halted. Tehran faces pressure for rapid deal. And Nepal to host Kava Women's Champions League volleyball tournament. Volleyball Association marks Golden Jubilee year. That is it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for watching.